So, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing pretty well. I was summoned here, I understand, for some dieting memes or something.
People understand
Yeah, I was
things
gonna
more
do,
through narrative.
Oh, maybe we should start tearing through the animators. That's right. Oh god. Oh no, I was gonna look up like really boring stuff. It was just gonna be yeah, it wasn't like big diet memes. I just kind of wanted like factual data points to give to people when they ask about different things. Is like yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're doing like a research portion.
Yeah, I was just gonna like start Google scholaring a bunch of shit. Since I can't do video games, I guess we can do all of our research.
Wait, can we?
What? Unless you got something more interesting to talk about, and then I can play Path of Exile.
I do have something more interesting
Okay,
to talk
good.
about. All right, microwaves, Devin.
Devin,
I was summoned here for diet memes. Okay.
Wait, Devin.
I'm gonna. Yeah.
when you
what's
say
up?
you don't believe in microwaves, can you qualify that statement a little?
Yeah, I just don't believe in them.
What do you mean by don't believe in them?
That's what I mean. I just don't believe them.
You don't believe that microwaves are like?
Yeah. So we're gonna talk some dieting memes, my dudes. Like, is that why? That's why I'm here, right? That's why I didn't start my stream.
Listen,
And
this is what makes you special,
Dan-
Devin. You need to embrace it.
Dan
This is the
has
personality.
summoned me here under false pretenses. to
No,
corner me
this is a
on
very
my
interesting
microwave
conversation.
beliefs. I'm feeling discriminated against right
Devin,
now.
it's not. We want to know. Maybe I shouldn't believe in microwaves. Can you convince me?
Wait. Can I ask a question? If you put something in a microwave, will it get hotter?
How can it if a microwave doesn't exist in the first place?
This is just a big troll then, right?
What do you mean?
This is a big troll?
What? Do you have a
I don't
microwave in
understand.
your house, Devin?
No, I haven't had a microwave ever in my house.
That's not true. You have one sitting on your fucking next to your stove.
negative. It's a toaster, my dude.
Okay, I was just seeing if I didn't actually remember. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, there's a toaster and then there is a stove. And no, I haven't had a microwave. I mean, my fiance can confirm.
Okay. All right, let's get on to the next topic. Dan, what do you want to? Dan or Devin? Bring up something that I don't have to research, okay? So I can go.
So you have to research.
can-
I thought that. So the way that Dan portrayed this to market me up over here was, I thought you were considering some kind of personal shift in your dieting.
Oh
and
no,
I was gonna
basically
talk
I
to
just
you
wanted
about
to
that.
read more about like diabetes and like what causes it and like what insulin's function is and how things like high carbohydrate, high fat diets, low carbohydrate, low fat diets, like what kind of impacts they have, like what kind of health outcomes they're associated with for humans. That's just what I was curious about. And then like actually just like having studies, because like a lot of people ask me like, well, what do you think about consuming sugar? And I have like opinions because of like kind of like abstract opinions I've read, but it would be interesting to see like the actual studies and the outcomes to see if it's as negative as I think it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Particularly, like, I'd be really interested in the effects of sugar, like excessive sugar, on the human body, and if all those memes are real,
Yeah.
or like what we found, because like there's so many articles out there that are like sugar is like absolute toxin, like it's equivalent to drinking like gasoline. Like, I don't know. There's like all kinds of like crazy stuff out there
Sure,
about
and
that,
not necessarily
right?
that bad, but like do you know I bet you know this guy's name, maybe Justin Fung. He's a guy on YouTube, an Asian researcher that talks about sugar and stuff. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Maybe you haven't heard of this guy.
I need to see him, Justin.
I mean, he looks like. I never mind. That was almost really racist.
Whoa! Good thing we're not on Twitch, buddy.
He's Asian. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it.
I'm waiting for chat to. Jason Fung. Okay.
Jason Fung, is that his name? Yeah, he just gives
looking.
talks about like insulin and diabetes and whatnot. But like the way that he was presenting it is he was saying things like type 2 diabetes are like completely and totally reversible if you cut sugar from your diet, and that if you actually look at like studies, there are people that have done this that have totally reversed like their type 2 diabetes, like have quit medication and everything. Not that he was advocating for that, but there are people who've done it who have like cut like carbs and sugar out of their diet so that their liver and all their functions of their bodily things that like are responsible for processing and producing insulin and everything go back to being healthy.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of people that jump on like Joe Rogan type podcasts and stuff like that say the same thing.
Yeah.
And they seem to have a lot of good research around it, but I've never actually researched the research.
Yeah, that's
itself.
where I would just be nice to like. That's why I want to just hop on Google Scholar and just like start like looking up studies so that I can like know that like yes, I have seen a study that had 15 participants and their outcomes were positive at the end. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. There's a dude here that I linked to you, Thomas DeLauer, and he has a lot of stuff like this. Like his latest video is like fasting's effects on cancer cells,
Mm-hmm.
and he links a couple of studies in his videos that seem to suggest that like cancer cells feed off glucose, right? So along the lines of that sugar thing is like the study that he linked was that cancer cells are 10x more glucose sensitive than normal cells.
Sure.
Like, so the implication being that sugar actually feeds cancer cells in a way and can exacerbate a condition. So things like that would be really interesting to lock down. I've been talking for a while. I want to do like a show where it's like kind of like just like a thing that I do for like a couple of hours every week on the broadcast. And I want to like take a single topic like that, like take like intermittent fasting and just hit all of the research nodes that I can about that subject, right? And just like lock down like what we actually know about that subject.
Yeah, and it's good to. I think it's good to have like a bank of studies in your head, because like once you start reading a lot of stuff, you just kind of remember things, and so it's easier. One, if somebody's bullshitting you, you can kind of figure it out real quick. It's like, well, hold on, wait, I'm pretty sure I've seen outcomes that are contrary to that. And then two, it just increases your general like comfort with the knowledge, so you can know that you're speaking with a little bit more authority than just like I heard this one thing, you know.
It's really good just because like, if I'm going to actually be like talking about this, most of the stuff that I think I'm going to cover is not like political like type memes and stuff like that, where I think that's like important for the purpose of conversation. But I think there's like when you're doing stuff on like optimal nutrition or optimal human performance, it's really useful to have these studies because you can advocate those as like best practices for people, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's like sort of the idea. Like I'm really interested in oh man, I'm interested in so many subjects right now. Like intermittent fasting is a really big one. How much like micronutrients like really help you? Like the nutrition is such a crazy like convoluted field. What I hope I find is a lot of conflicting studies. That'll be really interesting if that happens.
It's just hard to disentangle cause and effect sometimes.
Well, it's impossible if there's enough like conflicting research on either side. And then the other problem with nutrition is you have a lot of corporate influence with like studies that are not exactly double blind, or they're geared in a certain direction to accomplish a result, like because people want to push some kind of product, right?
Yeah. You might find a lot of research that is evidence that something is bad, and there might be, or something is good, and there might actually be information that it's just as bad, but that research isn't funded as much, so it leads to it appearing more one-sided or something. Sure.
Yeah, all that
or
stuff
like
is
sometimes
like, really
when big companies like Coke and whatnot, I think fuck, I want to say there's examples of this where they're funding research, but it looks like the research is heading in a direction that they don't like, and then they just pull the funding for it. So yeah, I think because the question is like, well, where do a lot of these places get funding? And I don't know, like, what are the other things? Like, have you come across this? Like, how much research actually comes out of like universities versus like independent like third parties or NGOs? Like where is a lot of the research that's being produced in America coming from in general? I think a lot of it is university. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The important part I don't think is where the research comes from. It's where the funding comes from. Because like I think you can have government funded research that happens in a university, but you can also have private research that's funded from a university, right? But I think the important thing is the source of the funding, not necessarily where it happens at. Somebody in chat could correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Okay, so you'd have to look at,
because it's not like Coke is never
probably funded all over the place.
If Coke wants to test like some crazy dietary shit, it's not like they're gonna start constructing their own labs or something to do it. They're just gonna go to a university. They're gonna like give them a grant or whatever, and say like, okay, well this is what we want you to study, and then give us the results or something like that, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So it's probably impossible to disentangle where all that stuff is coming from then. You'd have to go per study on the subject. So you'd have to take one subject, you go per study, and you'd be like, okay, like this one came from Coke, so like maybe we can like discount this because it's also not double blind or whatever. Sure. And, yeah, you just go through the whole thing.
I have Cushing's syndrome.
Sounds like fun. I think you could probably spend
carbs out of my diet and only eat during an 8-hour period in a day.
On this nutrition meme, I'm really curious
I've
what you come up with.
I've lost 30 pounds in 3 months. I developed it when I got injured and couldn't get the
how's your YouTube going?
Proper medical treatment, then was misdiagnosed later.
Okay, cool. Guys, if you donate me like really complicated things, I'm probably going to miss some of it because I can't access my Streamlabs. I'm so sorry, okay? Okay, I'm sorry. My Streamlabs, I log into it using my API, my Twitch API, but I can't log in now because I'm banned on Twitch. How cool is that they shut your APIs down when you're suspended?
Really?
Yeah, how awesome is that, huh?
That's savage.
Okay, I'm sorry. What were you asking me? Or what did you
I
ask
was curious about your YouTube. I saw a clip where you were like, it was weird. It was like a little bit disingenuous. It's like Destiny looks at his YouTube revenue or something, and you were saying like, holy shit, but I don't know if you're saying holy shit this is really low or holy shit this is really high.
Well, no, it seemed pretty good. Like,
yeah,
but I'm still waiting for things to settle out. Like, a lot of people don't understand how viewership works. Like, I knew that on the first day when I had 9,000 viewers, I wasn't going to hold that. And then the next day I had 5,000. It usually takes like about like, I would say 4 or 5 streams, good streams, for those data points to kind of settle out a little bit. That's why I'm trying to figure out like where my average viewership will wind up at. Like, I'm only at 5,000 now because I just did the debate with that guy. I think we were almost at 6,000, but I'm pretty sure that like that'll start to fall off as it just becomes like a normal stream, you know? So finding out what it settles into is important.
There's a lot of metrics that I think you could be looking at more closely that should be interesting to you that you may maybe not be. Like, one of the most interesting ones to me is how your discovery is happening, right? We talked about this a little bit, but like, if you can use YouTube analytics to determine how many people are coming to your broadcast from outside of like your normal community, that's a really interesting thing, because if you're able to use this entire month to broadcast to relatively new viewers so that when you're transitioned to Twitch, goes back
that
and
I bring them with me or something.
Yeah, that's extremely compelling, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
And I feel like it seems to me that like at least 40% of your audience is YouTube viewers, and their exposure to you may have been far more limited than like your existing community.
Well,
yeah.
Anyone who's subscribed to Destiny, when they browse YouTube right now and he's live, you get an alert in the top right.
Yeah, so I understand that, but I'm not as interested in those people as I am the people that are popping in from the recommended tab of people who haven't heard of him and are interested in the same tags. So the algorithm has flagged it as, hey, because a live stream always pops up as the number one. If you're on the top right of the recommended tab, a live stream will pop up as like the number one video. Always it'll get superior SEO over the other ones. So I'm interested in like how much of that is relatively new people that haven't been exposed to him yet.
The reality is that it's
and
less of
I
people
think the
watching,
way that you can tell that, like
because
YouTube
you got
analytics should
banned,
tell you a lot of that
but more
super
because
interesting
they're
stuff.
guaranteed no gameplay and more Destiny thoughts and debates.
One thing that's going to be really interesting is I had a pretty big talk with Mixer today.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did that go? I wanted to ask you about that earlier.
Like after I've done this for like a few weeks, looking at my this fucker almost killed me in this incursion. After I've done YouTube for like 2 weeks, the idea of breaking my Twitch contract and simul streaming is really interesting to me. Holy shit! Like I'm getting.
Are you gonna test it?
What do you mean test it?
Like,
he can't test it without.
I can't test it with my exclusivity contract on Twitch. But the idea of multi-streaming is a different.
Why can't you multi-stream right now if you're not doing gaming content?
For a variety of reasons that I don't know if I can talk about because I'm NDA'd on that Mixer conversation. So, but like, I mean, it should be kind of obvious. I wouldn't start multi-streaming or anything right now without having a deal penned, right? Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But and also, I don't know if I would want to start multi-streaming on Mixer while I'm under such a heavy restriction that I can't do gaming content, right?
Well, what about attempting Facebook? I mean, this is the time.
Facebook never fucking contacted me back for my emails, so if I do Facebook, it'll just be because I want to try Facebook too. But yeah, if I do multi-stream, I would definitely do it to Facebook as well. Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything else besides Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer?
Facebook, no, those are the big boys, the big guys.
Interesting.
You know the really interesting meme? Fuck. Yeah, or I'll talk about it. Do you know how that backpack works that the gun run set up?
Yep.
Yeah.
You familiar with the software technology side or whatever?
I'm super familiar with it, yeah.
You know what would be really interesting is that if you wanted to do the multi-streaming, I think I would create a solution like that, where what you would do is you would stream to an AWS server, and then you would have an OBS running on that server. You'd have multiple OBSs that are always live so that you wouldn't run into that connectivity issue either. Like, you know how like when you do the backpack, you only have one VOD, because even if your stream drops, the AWS instance is still streaming for you. Are you familiar with that? Yeah, which I think is actually a really, really cool feature. It's a really good idea. I think if I did the multi-streaming thing so that the bandwidth requirements and the encoding requirements wouldn't be insane. Well, I think the encode, you can use multiple encodes, or you can use one encode for all the streams. What you would do is you would just send one stream to the Amazon instance, and then you'd have 4 OBSs running on that instance that would send the stream out to like all the different servers or whatever. I think that's
really interesting.
Yeah, that could be easily. Kate could set that up easily.
Yeah, yeah, super easy. It's not complicated at all. Yeah. That would be an interesting way to get the multi-stream stuff set up.
You couldn't. How much upload do you have right now in your current setup?
Well, theoretically, Cox tells me I can do 30 or 50 or something, but it depends on the day.
Yeah, the best thing then. I mean, you'll add latency when you do that, though.
A little bit. The RTMP latency to an AWS server should be very low naturally, like 1 to 2 seconds, as long as it's geographically close to you, if that. And then it's just going to be, so you're basically adding like 1 to 2 seconds, I think, on top of whatever the normal latency is. So if it's already very low latency, like Mixer, I think is like insanely low. It's like 1 second or 2 at the most. Like it might be 1 or less. It's insane. So
it is, yeah.
So like
so
yeah.
short.
So Mixer's shit is really low latency. YouTube
Because they built the servers with that in mind.
Yeah.
Like
Also, it's fucking
Mixer is
right?
Microsoft, yeah?
Yeah.
Does anyone use that right now at all?
Some people do, but not many people. But some people do. Dude, oh my god. I think I'm pretty sure I can talk about this. Like features that are existing on the platform. Have you seen like their hype moment thing?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
actually a
crazy.
really cute idea.
It's so
What
cool
is it?
because you're
So-
consistently getting concurrent viewers. Yeah, you can.
So
spend it.
basically, like if you're playing a game like Fortnite or whatever, Mixer's got like they've got like. Fuck, I don't know how much specifically I'm talking about, but like they've got basically a way to detect in game if you're like in a top 10, top 5 scenario, and if you are, it front pages you under like hype moments and shit. So like
Yeah.
if you're
Really?
watching, yeah. So stuff like that is like that's actually a really cool idea.
But not only does it do that, it also takes the concurrent viewers from the last hype moment and pulls them over to you, so you immediately get discovery. It's really cool.
Oh, so it's like almost like
Yeah.
a separate stream of hype moments set up or whatever.
Yes, because there's only
Oh.
one person in the moment at a time, right? So like you'll be a normal broadcaster and like just like a normal dude with like 10 viewers and immediately get like a 500
Yeah,
or 600 viewer boost. Yeah, so that's why if you look at a lot of Mixer channels, there's a lot of views on those channels for the amount of followers they have, and the reason is because they're getting a lot more exposure and discovery than something like say Twitch.
Oh shit, that's actually really cute. Ooh, I could see that being
Yeah.
really abused, but assuming people don't, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think Mixer is a small enough platform that they can sort of self-regulate through moderation
For
and
now,
such.
for sure, yeah.
For now. I mean, eventually, but their growth and like discovery net metrics are like really encouraging.
Well,
they're
how do
really
they
growing
how
a
do
lot.
they do the promotion to make up for it? Like Twitch has its built-in directory, YouTube has all of YouTube, but what the fuck does
Mixer has
Microsoft
all
have?
of that stuff as well. It's just using
They're where?
additional technology.
No,
Yeah, but
Mixer
where
doesn't.
did-
What Dan is saying is, where do you bring in outside influence? And that's what my big issue is. That I
Outside influence? I don't understand.
So like when people want to watch games right now, they go to
Yeah.
Twitch or they go to YouTube. That's where
Yeah.
they go, and that's why the discovery exists on that platform. But for things like Mixer, nobody goes to Mixer to watch streams, right? So like, what independent platform are they utilizing or advertising on to pull people over to get people to go to Mixer to look at video games?
Oh, I mean, they have a very aggressive social media campaign.
Yeah.
They're like really going hard on Twitter, Facebook. They're paying a lot in promotion and ads. I've seen like a lot of ads show up on Instagram and stuff like that. Like their marketing budget is pretty high. I think that they have a full-time social media manager on their Twitter account at the very least. That's like posting memes and like getting back and forth with people and responding to people. I think they're going through a lot of the motions to do it. It's just that it's like in this kind of thing, it's going to take a lot of patience to upset an existing behemoth like Twitch, right? Like I'm not saying
it's just money, because Twitch exists because it's there and they have the audience now. But like, if you want to topple Twitch and you don't have the audience, then you basically have to
You have to
doubling
spend.
the amount of money.
Yeah,
Twitch
and
is
that's what they're
spending.
doing. I mean, like, but what I'm saying is, like, I think the time frame is just not good enough for a lot of people. I mean, it certainly isn't, right? Because like, there's very few people that are considering Mixer as a viable competitor. But Mixer is obviously really serious about it and backed by a really powerful company that wants to like have something in this space.
Yeah.
Do you know?
It's literally
Do you know what
Microsoft.
any of the past deals they've done look like as far as monetary compensation to get people over?
I do, yes.
Anything you can talk about or no?
No.
Nope, definitely
Okay.
don't feel comfortable talking about that.
Yeah.
Oh, not you, Devin. But yeah, it's fine.
Oh.
Don't worry.
I mean, in the exact same way that Steven can, I can't either.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. So, but I think the crust of this issue is that they're paying a lot more than you would get elsewhere. Is that right?
I mean, you're just asking me the same question and fucking rewording it. Like, so the answer is I can't talk about it. God damn it.
I guess like the common sense answer I'd give is it would be really fucking stupid of them to offer almost nothing. So right, because no one would ever do anything.
Yeah.
So like I think to go back to like the discovery memes, the discovery memes are super interesting. Like I feel like a lot of Twitch broadcasters would do better with a setup like this, but are just too afraid to leave the mothership, myself included even.
With a setup, like a multi-stream setup?
What you're considering, I think, has like enormous implications for your brand, and also more importantly, lifts you off of a single platform as a point of contention for a possible ban or like argument with the staff, regardless of your platform and regardless of like what you're actually advocating, right?
Okay.
Like,
well,
like if you exist in 4 places at once, with your central community being DGG, like it feels like a way stronger position than it does if you're just existing on one.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
you could have your own streaming system as well on your own site that's not beholden to any of them also.
That's a lot more investment, though.
It's not bad. That's about a week's worth of work to have it. There is cost associated with it, though.
Yeah, there's big cost, and you need reliable content delivery to every single part of the globe.
No, you don't have to be
It's pretty hard.
good. I mean,
Yeah.
I think almost Angel Thump style for what it's worth.
Yeah,
Like,
but
if it
Angel
works,
Thump serves content to how many people simultaneously without having hiccups or problems?
like 3,000 or 4,000, I think they can hit.
I guess I'd have to see, like, in terms of QA, like, how many people across the globe are served accurately. Also, I'm not really comfortable because Angel Thump is, like, built right now. Angel Thump only exists off of, like, a technicality. You realize that, right?
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah.
But you can do... I looked into this on stream. I think Devin was there. Like, you can do it... you could probably support about 5,000 users for about $1,000 a month, as far as video goes.
Sure.
I mean, again, I'm not saying that's something you want to do, but it's more brand building to have your own content central source. I mean, obviously,
Well,
a certain
kind
amount
of.
people might
Brand
use that.
building doesn't just mean doing things on your own. Like, collaboration can be a form of brand building as well. So, like, just doing everything on your own isn't necessarily, like, the best for brand building, right? Like, you want to be associated with Twitch. You want to be associated with YouTube gaming.
Yeah, no doubt. Interesting.
Collaboration's probably the
someone
main
saying-
way that, I mean, like, my streams benefited a lot from talking to you, Steven, like, and which I really appreciate. Like, I think like that's, and even at your your level too, if you're interacting with like the offline TV people and such, that's a huge. That's like, it's just like a huge benefit to doing that.
Well, actually, I'm curious. Are you partnered with Twitch, Devin?
Yeah, of course.
Do you have like do you make a lot of money on subscriptions right now, or?
Well, I just restarted my stream, so like nothing is like really impressive. I mean, I can like the only thing I could do is like go off of like when I stopped broadcasting before I went to CLG.
So like what I'm curious is if you think the multi-streaming is such a good idea, why don't you do it now before you've built up a lot on Twitch and you've got a lot to lose?
I suggested that, by the way.
It's one of those things where I rationally understand it's a better business decision, but emotionally, like I'm like attached to Twitch in a lot of different ways and like feel like I want to like stay on the platform.
Sure.
It's not. It's so.
But like, why do you have to? Why can't you just multicast? You don't have to leave Twitch, but just stream it to other places as well.
I can't multicast when I'm under contract with Twitch. Nobody can.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Oh, so
Yeah,
do you
so-
feel like if you'd break that contract, it'd be like hurting your relationship with Twitch, even if you're not losing many subs or whatever? Like,
No. It would be So like let me say like right away, I already can see that this is a worse business decision in terms of like.
well, yeah, I don't care about that. I'm curious
yeah.
emotionally what your emotional justification is. Yeah.
What it is that so like when I started streaming in 2012, I had a sort of like unique look into I had a sort of unique connection to a lot of the people that were like executives at Twitch and a lot of the people that were there.
Yeah, I remember this.
What do you mean?
Going to it wasn't even TwitchCons. Going to I don't even remember what events were, but like literally hanging out with Justin, hanging out with Emmett, hanging out with Kevin. Like, yeah, I remember doing.
Yeah, you did this stuff also.
Yeah, a long time ago.
So like I would like spending time with those people, and then once I joined Dignitas and CLG, and I got to a pretty significant point in my like esports career, right? It was to the point where I was working directly with those C-level executives on like a sort of like at least like a weekly basis, right? So it feels really weird for me to abandon the platform because the platform fits I want to use the word like culture. I don't have a really good way to explain this. Like there's a feeling in me that says that like I'm brand loyal to Twitch, I guess is the way I'd explain it. And I might be willing to so I'm at a crossroads here, and maybe you can impact this. On one hand, I'm very brand loyal to Twitch, and I really love Twitch. I love what they do. I really love the people that are working at Twitch. I know several of them personally. that are like personal friends that I talk to on a regular basis that I game with. At the same time, I'm also very serious about building the Mylixia channel, right? And I don't know if I can actually succeed at that on Twitch without an incredible amount of work on other platforms like Instagram, social media pushing, promotion, and stuff like that. Because like if my goal is like to get to like let's say 1,000 concurrents on Twitch, I don't know if that's possible with the discovery that they offer. So I don't have a good answer to this yet.
Yeah, you're basically like the dream of every company is they've got you so loyal to their platform
For
that
sure.
even if it's a bad physical decision, you'll stay loyal because of brand loyalty, right?
Yeah, but I think that in this instance, like, I also think that the people that work at Twitch like actually care about me.
Sure.
So I'm not just like a person that's like, yeah, bleed purple. Like I've interacted with these guys. I've done business with them. I've you know, like this is there's like a lot of personal connections to all those people. And if I like go to another platform and just like ditch Twitch, I think there's a lot of implications also for collaboration in that too. Even if you're not banned, it feels like it feels like some of the broadcasters. You remember those like memes in the last like 2 or 3 months where people are like, I'm like switching to Mixer, or I'm switching to YouTube. It feels like those people are on a sort of island in of themselves, and it's not easy to explain why it feels that way. Because in theory, those people could just still game together and like load it up and like play, but it just is for some reason. This could be fabricated, I guess. I mean, maybe I'm just like.
I guess
maybe I'm
like
not
the
sure
way
on this.
that it's really hard to do this from like an emotional point of view, but like the way that I would test this is then you would be like, okay, well, hey Twitch, like I really want to do this thing. Like, can you help me with this? Like, how would I be able to do this? And then if they would say like, no, there's no way we would ever let you do that, then it would maybe give you a reason to stop and reevaluate.
Devin, I have a question for you. How big of a
Yeah.
YouTube following do you have right now?
Totally insignificant. It's like we just started working on the YouTube. I have a really kick-ass editor that's working on it. And I think it's like 1,500 subs.
So my
It's
question
nothing.
then is, Destiny, do you think there would be any benefits if he doesn't have like the 100,000 subscribers or anything like you do? Do you think there's going to be people who can discover the content if he doesn't have? Let's assume he has no subscribers. Is there any benefit to streaming on YouTube if you have no subscribers already on there?
Well, is there any benefit to streaming anywhere if you've got no subscribers? I mean, what do you mean?
Yeah,
Well, no,
there
that's what I'm
is.
saying. Will YouTube still try to promote stuff even if you have no followers on there?
Discovery works differently. Yeah, it does. Discovery works different. So a big thing that I've been trying to talk to a lot of people about, because I think a lot of people don't understand this, is when you go to YouTube, the discovery is totally different from Twitch, right? People are expecting a directory where you browse by the highest amount of users or viewers on a stream, but that's not how YouTube aggregates discovery. The way that they do it is they do it through an algorithm where they link you up with a live stream that you may be interested in based on a tag-based system that's hidden. So if you've watched a lot of political videos, from I think it'd be really funny to see the tags that Steven is associated with on YouTube. But
God.
if you've watched a lot of right-wing conservative videos, or you've watched a lot of gaming content, like it's really specific. Their algorithm goes well beyond like what any of us understand. It's like machine learning shit.
Yeah.
And what'll happen is in YouTube's discovery. So when you go to youtube.com, right, your front page will have a recommended tab, and live streams will take a live stream will take. So right now, when I go to youtube.com, the first thing that comes up on my recommended tab is Penguin's Critical. He's like a comedy guy on YouTube that I subscribe to. He's live right now. So, and he's playing a video game. So that came up first. The second one is the live Joe Rogan MMA show, right? Because I subscribe to Joe Rogan. So I have other channels that I watch other than this, but the first 2 live streams are in the recommended tab right away. So when you go to youtube.com and you subscribe to Destiny, or you're interested in Destiny's type of content, it will show up in the recommended tab as the first live now thing. So let's say that I have no subscribers, or I have very minimal. Like right now I have like 1,000. When I start my stream, at first I'll get no discovery on YouTube. It'll probably take maybe like a week or less, but what'll happen is the algorithm will start to associate the type of content and videos that I produce with what I'm doing, and then eventually we'll start serving that out and recommending that to people, and I'll get an audience. This is how people like Panzer Dragon, who's like used to be a league streamer on Twitch, switched over, and he had like maybe 30 or 40 viewers on Twitch at any given time, switched over to YouTube and got like 400 to 500 concurrents almost like within a couple of days. The discovery works completely differently than how it works on Twitch.
Interesting. So it might be worth it. Maybe I'll test it and we can see how it goes.
Oh shit.
I think there's a lot. It's like rough. Like the questions you have to ask yourself, Stephen, are like, am I willing to potentially like lose a lot of collaboration with offline TV and like all these people? Do I think that that's a possibility by doing this like multicast switching the platform thing? Or do I think I could still interact with those people and get those benefits? And then like, those are like the questions you have to ask.
Well, like in your case, what I would say is that like you don't have very much built up in terms of subs. So if you lose that particular sub contract, that's fine. That you're not losing a huge thing there, right? You've got like everything in front of you. You haven't built up anything yet, so you're not super committed financially to any platform. In terms of whether or not you think you would personally damage your relationships with people at Twitch by multicasting, I mean, that's only something you can answer. I don't know the answer to that.
I guess I also don't know for sure if I do better, and like where that takes me.
Sure.
So like, yeah, I'm just not sure. There's a lot more risk in that second option for me, right? Because like if I end up dedicating to like platforms that don't succeed.
Well, but like you wouldn't be making an extra investment. That's the thing. You'd be simulcasting. That'd be the nice thing about it. And there is room for you to grow on these platforms. Like if I go to Mixer, I would be like the largest streamer there or whatever. But if you go to Mixer with like 50 to 100 concurrents and you gather, you know, like a couple hundred people that enjoy watching you, that's a sizable improvement, like a percentage improvement of people that watch you, right?
It is, but the ceiling might be way lower.
Yeah,
like
of
what
course,
if I had the
but, like,
potential to get like 5K concurrents on Twitch, for example?
Then you could still be getting them because you'd still be simulcasting. But what if you pick up a couple hundred viewers from Mixer and they also watch like YouTube videos and that bolsters your YouTube presence, and then people on YouTube find you and watch you on Twitch, right? Like there's a lot of like weird cross-pollination shit like that can happen.
There's like, I think there's a misunderstanding. So again, like I think the scenario we're talking about, right, is I do not use Twitch to stream because I cannot simulcast. So this would.
Well, that's why I'd be saying like break your, or like just get rid of your partner contract and just simulcast, is what I was saying.
Can you do that?
Yeah, why wouldn't you be able to? As long as you're not a partner, I can't imagine you'd be on any kind of exclusivity.
So you drop your partnership contract and then you simulcast, and so basically you're saying then the only thing you give up is Twitch Prime subs.
Yeah, this would be what I.
This
would be what I'd be. Yeah, I think you would. I don't even know if you could be I think even affiliate contracts are exclusive. So
I got that Twitch Prime.
Yeah, so this would be what I'm going to be considering is whether or not it's worth it to simulcast and drop my Twitch partnership contract. And I've got a lot more financially to lose from that than most
I
people
do. Yeah.
would. Yeah.
That so okay. So just understand.
Oh wait. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to understand. So you would drop your Twitch contract, or what we're talking about right now.
Yep.
Is you voluntarily first of all, can you voluntarily drop a Twitch contract? Is there a clause in there that says you can end this at any time, or like?
Not at any time. I've got to give them, I think, 90 days written notice before the reenactment period or whatever.
Oh, so this might not happen right away. This would.
Well,
it
mine
might be a
is
long
coming
time.
up. So.
Oh, okay. So, and I don't think my contract's like even in like I think I signed it in like 2012, and like I'm attached to CLG.
Sure.
As in their network, so I'm under like, so I don't think I'm like in a partnership contract. But okay, so I'm just trying to figure out what we're talking about is you drop your Twitch contract down to like the base level, so you're still streaming on Twitch, but you're not a partner.
Correct.
Right.
Would be what I would consider doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Twitch affiliates also can't do it.
Yeah, that's what I. Well, yeah,
course.
because when you're a Twitch affiliate, your contract is sometimes even more strict than the older partner contracts.
Oh, it should be. Yeah. So then you are simulcasting like Mixer, Facebook, etc. Do you think that Twitch would be okay with letting you use their platform in that way? Because Twitch is incentivized to host your channel based on the ad revenue that they get off of it and the portion of subscriber revenue they get off of it. So basically, you're using Twitch as a free service to host several thousand viewers and they're getting nothing for it.
Well, how do
Literally
they profit
nothing.
off of normal non-partner streams? They can still run ads against it or whatever, don't they? Like pre-rolls and shit.
Yeah, but the idea behind those broadcasts is like that they're not using enough
Bandwidth for it to matter.
resources to matter. Yeah, and that if they like so what let's look at this like in a general business sense, right? Let's take like Soda Pop and Stream, okay? You would just expect that Twitch wants to earn more money than it loses off of that stream.
Yeah.
That just seems to be a pretty logical conclusion, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So in the same way, it seems like if you were hosting a stream of like 3 to 5K concurrence and Twitch was not benefiting at all from it, they'd be like, why do we have this on our platform? Or there would be some like weird. So what I guess what I'd say is like, this has never been done before, right? There's nobody has ever dropped their partnership contract and then tried to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. So it would be a conversation to have with them to see if that's possible or not. Yeah.
Well, they're gonna try to dissuade you from it. There's no reason why they wouldn't.
Well, I don't care if they're trying to dissuade. I would want to know what the legalese is. Like, would you enforce it?
Can they stop you?
Or not the legalese, but like, would they enforce it? Would be my curious. Like, I don't care if you're happy or sad with it. What I want to know is, are you going to ban me from your platform if I do this? That would be the question, right?
Yeah, that is the question, and like, I really wonder how that goes. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easier if you're someone like Dan, who like is like just like streaming, is just begun his channel. Whereas like you and I are like 2012ers, like super old people who are like, all right, we're also like just the social implications of that too are really interesting. Like if you're like, I'm on Twitch, but I have so little faith and so little belief in the way that they do their contracts that I'm not a partner. And I'm just doing like other stuff that's like more beneficial to my business.
This is where the reassurances come in, and it's like, okay, well, what are you going to give me to make it so that this isn't a good decision for me? So like, so to tell a personal story, because I've already done this once, I might be the only person that's done this, I'm not sure. But when I was the largest streamer on Twitch, I decided to move to owned, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and when
Hotshot did this too, so.
Did he move from Twitch to owned?
Completely.
Was
yeah,
he a big streamer on Twitch?
This was a huge meme for Hotshot. He had about like 15 or 20K concurrence on Twitch, and he moved to owned, and it like fucked him up.
Okay, this must have been. I must have done this a lot earlier then, because I don't think League streamers had gotten quite as popular yet when I moved over.
Okay.
How did Twitch react, by the way, when you did that? When their biggest
well, so what
streamer
happened
left?
was that owned was basically making me a deal that was going to be fucking massive compared to what I was getting. Now looking back on it, it's not that much, but like it was like a $15,000 cash incentive or whatever, and then like I think they were promising 5 CPM, and Twitch was paying like 2 or something really bad. I don't remember. It was something weird like that. But basically it was like something that would have like effectively doubled my income. And when I was kind of going over this with Twitch, they were like super quick to match the offer, and I just remember that like at the time it felt kind of shitty because I was like, wait, so have I been getting fucked on this platform all this time, and you're only trying to match an offer now because someone else is here? Like, that kind of feels kind of bad, you know? And I was kind of, and at the time, you know, like, everybody likes to hindsight, you know, like, oh, well, you definitely should. At the time, Twitch was actually having a lot of problems. Content delivery in Europe was very fucking bad. If any big streams were happening in Europe and you were watching, like, tournaments or whatever, you were not watching them happily. Yeah, this is why Azubo and Owned were getting popular, because their content delivery, in Europe was much better built out. And then Twitch also had a lot of internal problems at the time that a lot of people didn't talk about as much, too. So eventually for that reason, I was like, oh, well, fuck, I guess, like, you know, I've been kind of getting fucked this whole time. Well, fuck it. Yeah, I'll go ahead and switch and try Owned out for a year and see what that's like. But like, oh, I'm sorry, but just like in general, like, I think that like if you are considering leaving to another platform, I think Twitch should want to like reach out and do something, like negotiate something there to assure you.
I think that used to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just really wonder if I mean, like, even
it's possible.
And this is like pulling me aside too. So like, even people that I was really close to in partnerships, who I have to be really careful about how I say this. They're now beholden to certain like rule sets and
that are not flexible anymore. Yeah.
Even if they want to be.
Yeah. Whereas before, back in the day, depending on who you knew, fucking Twitch would give you cash sponsorships if you were friends with the right guys. Did you ever?
Exactly.
Yeah, like literally, not like they would help you get one. Like Twitch itself would give cash sponsors to people that they were friendly with. But now it's like, listen, I really like you and all the people on this team like you, but we literally are inflexible on this matter. We can't do anything, even if we wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that, actually, I'll type you something real quick, but like, here, hang on one second.
I gotta leave pretty soon too. I got Aaron's food is done.
Okay. Hang on one second. So it's that kind of shit. So like, did you read that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I said yeah. Yeah,
so
that
like
sounds consistent
2
with
or
everything
3
I've
years
heard.
ago, that would have been like snap of the fingers type thing. But because of like just the systems in place and like the way that they have to operate, they can't do it. So like that's like kind of the crazy meme, right? Is like even though I know that all these people are like really close to me, like from a business sense, it almost doesn't matter, right? Because they can't impact me anyway.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk on about this.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Hold on. Okay. I'm gonna eat real quick. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. You guys can please my stream. Okay. Don't scream racial slurs. All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll be back, guys.
All right.
What's up, Twitch chat? That's what that guy, Mr. Moon, usually says.
Dude, I don't know what to do with all these people.
You do an AMA. Let's do it again. Rapid fire AMA for Devin this time, not for me.
No! Wait. No.
I already
You
did
don't have
mine
anything to ask
yesterday.
me.
You must start your questions with a motherfucking game emote for Devin to consider answering your question.
That sounds reasonable.
If it doesn't have the emote in front, don't answer it.
I love your business talks on YouTube. Thank you so much. People actually watch those? They have like 20 views each. Oh God, this is intense, man. How's it going? I'm doing really well, man. Thank you. How old is my cat? Don't own one. I just really like that emote. Dan, what is it like being immortally wealthy? Immorally wealthy, excuse me.
I'm not immoral. I'm very moral.
I'm not wealthy. Mylixia, how did you feel about the World Cup games? Didn't watch them. Is that happening? I saw a bunch of English flags on my Twitter. I don't even know what that means. What's my favorite game? Dark Age? Oh, Camelot. Let's go.
Please keep your questions explicitly to Mylixia. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Dan. Do you even dance? I'm a dance god, dude. Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Twitch TV / Mylixia is when I dance. Usually around 12 p.m. I usually stream at 2 p.m. every day, but I'm here with Destiny right now, so that's why I'm not on stream yet. Can we do links in chat? Do you link my stream? Can we do that? Is that like bad?
You can link your stream. Go for it.
Really? All right, what else? Tell Dan to stop being lazy. He's not lazy. He's like super self-actualized. He does a ton of work.
Yeah. Thanks.
Updates on chair. I'm leaning towards the M-body. I think
Yeah,
Dan's
boy.
right. Have you ever been in danger of developing an addiction? Yes. To EVE Online. I'm not even joking. I'm not trolling even a little. How do you feel about the current state of Israel and Palestine? I don't know, dude. What? Dude, I just do memes and like personal development stuff. Like, my background is in like peak performance for human beings, right? So I'm like interested in stuff like nutrition, optimal workouts, stuff like that. I don't know anything about those political memes. That's a Destiny question. Can
People
either
wanna
you
know
or Dan
about
do a what? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say people want to know about our podcast.
Yeah, we want to
Go
talk
ahead,
about that.
chill it out. Destiny's not here to stop it.
We don't want to. I don't think we should do the name and shit yet. We should like leave that as a surprise.
Really? But
Yeah.
we can get all these followers right now. 5,000 people, dude. I'm gonna do it if you're not gonna do it.
All right, fine.
Do it.
Me do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Dan and I are starting a podcast that is going to be based on I was actually going to say it was going to be based on like business stuff, and we're probably going to have a lot of that just because of the nature of how Dan and I are. But check this out, okay? Dan and I are combining our infinite business knowledge, and I'm combining the power I have in networking to bring on some awesome freaking guests weekly. And Dan and I are going to discuss topics ranging from business to gaming to all sorts of memes. And it's going to be kind of a lighthearted, neat little show called...
Who's our first guest?
We're not sure yet, but I have a lot lined up. It could potentially be Ryan Morrison, video game attorney, but it
video
might...
game attorney is going to be our first
No,
guest.
no, we don't know that yet. It might be. He's agreed to be on the podcast, but we could also do like Destiny first. We could do all kinds of things, but it's going to be like a really good show, and I think it's going to have a really unique angle that has never really been seen before in gaming, because we're going to have such a diverse cast of people coming on, combined with the business knowledge and sort of the experience that Dan and I bring to the table.
I'm really excited about the video game attorney. Can I put that out there? I hope that he's first.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I could do that. I mean, like, he's super down. But I also have a couple of people from like heads of sponsorship from different companies that want to join and stuff. So it's gonna be a view into gaming and the business side of gaming that nobody has ever seen before.
Yep.
Oh, you're super cool.
Channel.
Yeah, I can post. I don't know. I feel a little bit weird about posting my YouTube.
I'll plug it. Listen, guys. The Twitch channel is going to be twitch.tv/breakerbreaker. And we actually have breakerbreaker.com as well, because way back in the when, I was going to make a Discord competitor before Discord existed. So make sure you go follow that. And yeah, we're going to do it. It's going to be good shit. We're going to get interesting guests and grill them.
It's going to be good.
Medium well. Yeah, the domain doesn't work yet, I'm aware. It's a good name, okay? Because back in the day, truckers, they're on the road. Back in my day, all right, you talk to people on the CB radio, and you'd pick up that radio when you're in your truck, and you say, "Breaker, breaker, this is Big Rig 17, over. Any smokies out there on I-16?" And then that's how you would know. So breaker, breaker is the start of communication. Everyone's saying it's a terrible name. You're a terrible person. How about that?
It's always terrible until...
I don't want millennials knowing that, okay? Millennials, get out. This is only for enlightened 80s and 90s kids.
Oh, I lost my questions. Why do you say memes in every other sentence? Do I? Am I that bad? Oh, man. Will I play Rust with Dan? I'd love to play Rust with Dan, actually. You can teach me.
That'd be fun. Thursday. I
I'm super down. I could do like a stream while he does it. For people asking, I guess I'll link this stuff. I don't know. It feels really weird to do this, but whatever. That's my YouTube and that's my Twitch. Thank you. I am trying to make it a full-time thing for realsies. I know Raynad like kind of well. I've talked to him like a bunch of times. I think I could get him on. It's the Herman Miller M-body that Dan's talking about.
The best chair.
Can you teach us how to trade stocks? Maybe we can do a show that like Dan and I can do a talk that could impact it. I would keep it really basic though. Like I think we would probably keep them to like S&P 500 index fund memes and shit like that.
Well, I think more so that's an introduction to things like calls and puts and all that jazz.
Yeah. Wait. Like for options? We don't want to teach them options. I'm like,
why not?
Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, never mind. Whatever we do on our podcast, don't listen to whatever Dan says. Why? If he gets you started on options in the first, like, oh my god, oh god.
We listen. That's how you make the big money. Do you not follow Wall Street?
Oh no!
God. Futures, all that jazz, guys.
All right, guys. Day one with Dan and Mylixia. We're getting into foreign exchange. We're gonna teach you how to trade rupees for US dollars. Leveraging 100 to 1. Let's go.
Yeah, you can,
Plus
dude. You go above 100 to 1. How much can you get on Forex? It's way more than 100 to 1.
Forex, you can go infinite, but you can also lose your ass. Do you really trade futures and options? How have you not lost your house in Miami?
I don't. But we can learn about them together. I know the terms. I know what they mean.
Okay, I'm willing to learn about them.
Yeah, like we can go hard on stream on like Nvidia stock or AMD or one of those guys.
Mylixia, I thought crypto was big money. How's that going? Hey, why don't you go fuck yourself? God, it's going terrible. I've lost everything.
Yeah, I did get scammed. Fucking American Airlines scammed me out of 75,000 miles, motherfuckers. Feels bad, man. That was half of my... That was a one-way ticket to Japan right there in first class. Fucking gonzo.
You don't have one anymore?
No, I do. It's just these fuckers stole 75,000 miles from me.
Call them.
I have called them. They tell me to pound sand.
Call a bigger man. Be like, I want level 2.
Yeah. Some bullshit right there. I'll tell you
Why
what.
didn't you short Ethereum? Why can't you see the future, dude? If I had a newspaper from tomorrow, I would. Except newspapers don't talk about crypto.
DM Mylixia, you should have Rectful on and let him teach you about investing.
I think Reckful is probably a better investor than us, from what I've heard, or maybe at least equal.
Yeah. I don't know enough about the dude.
He's a really smart dude.
Yeah. Is he?
Yeah, he is. He's like legit. Like he's a legit, really smart dude. I have a lot of respect for Reckful.
Huh. Didn't he put all his money into a card game?
I don't know. Did he?
That's what I'm being told.
I don't know. I think he invested in Raynad's card. Is it Raynad's card game, guys?
Yeah, that sounds right.
But I don't think he put like all of his money into it. He probably put some like percentage. Oh, he jumped. There you go.
Oh, only 50K? Okay. Are you still going to do a crypto farm? Maybe. Maybe not. He didn't go all in. He's part of your tribe. Neat.
Were you in CLG during the Own 3D days? No, I was in the scene, but I didn't know George yet. So I kind of like got all that information like later. I don't believe it. I don't think Reckful ever intended to put in all of his money into the card game. I think he was memeing you guys super hard. Depending on what your net worth is, a 50K investment into a business is not a serious thing, guys. Like,
Well, he's got to be worth a few million, right?
I have no idea, but I'm saying like even if he's worth 500, like a 50K investment into like as a VC into a small business is not really that big of a deal. This is a guy who was like losing and gaining like tens of thousands of dollars a day, like playing professional poker. So like I don't think it's like really a big deal.
Wait, he was a poker pro? That's interesting.
Yeah, he's really good. And he credits a lot of that to like I don't want to speak for him, like we should like bring him on or we should ask. I'm sure he'd jump on. He's a really
Do you know
cool
who's
dude.
a really bad poker player?
Me?
Steven.
Is he?
Yeah.
Who was your favorite person at CLG? I mean, I can't answer that obviously, but I had like a lot of like, there's like people I would want to individually point out. There's a guy on the Overwatch team that always impacted me a lot. His name was Brian McCarthy. He's iShiny. He's such a cool dude, like really good speaker. Really excellent guy. I also really, really like Darshan and Aframu. Both of those guys are super cool dudes. Darshan and I would have hours and hours and hours of conversations. I lived with Aframu for 2 years. Like room to room. So like we were talking every day, and those super cool people. And then of course George. I mean George is like my lifelong friend. I've never been a consistent Reckful viewer. I try not to consume content on Twitch because I'm focused like so much on building mine. My Twitch is Twitch TV /Mylixia. Thank you for asking. If I didn't get your question, just repost it. We did have a talk about the mushroom trip, but there's not that much to discuss. Like the bottom line is that
it's a forward slash. It's a forward slash.
Forward slash. Okay, whatever. Yeah.
Get it out of your vocabulary.
Okay.
I don't want to hear that on the podcast one time. People will instantly walk off.
That'll be it. We just lose.
Yes.
Mylixia, like Twitch TV. Do you say Twitch TV Twitch TV /Mylixia, or do you say slash?
Slash.
Twitch TV /Mylixia, right? Can I say that?
Slash.
/Mylixia.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to do that. What are your thoughts on Fortnite becoming a long-term competitive game? Really good question. It absolutely has the potential to be the most successful esport ever made. If it isn't already, the Fortnite putting, oh man, I could do a big talk about this. Fortnite putting $100 million down and saying, hey, we're not doing teams, we're not doing franchising, we're doing communities. All of this is, if you are good enough to play our game, you can qualify and you can win prizes. Is excellent. I love what Epic Games is doing on this. They are actually doing esports right. One of the whole reasons why I backed out of esports was because of this bullshit franchising, like large sports team stuff that I really disagree with on a lot of levels. I really like what Fortnite is doing. I absolutely think they could be a successful competitive game. Super interested in watching that. Can you drink coffee during fasting? Yep. Caffeine won't break your fast. And only anything that triggers an insulin response.
I've heard the opposite. I've heard that if you drink coffee, that the caffeine, same thing with tea as well, that drinking that will actually break your fast.
It shouldn't, but interestingly, like some things like heavy fats do, like MCT oils can break fast and stuff like that, but I haven't been able to find any research that shows that caffeine breaks it. It could, though.
Do you think that sex can break your fast?
No.
If you, like, swallowed cum or something?
Yes. Is that something that you have to worry about on a regular basis?
No, I'm just curious. Or what about for a girl? Like, do you think they
PG-13?
excrete enough that, like, you could, like, break your fast?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm qualified to.
Yeah, Devin, do you have any personal experiences with this?
Caffeine isn't calories.
Dude. I mean, I'm blowing cocks every day. I got to worry about this in my protein intake, dude.
Caffeine isn't calories. Why would that break your fast? I thought that there were things that had to metabolize that, and that's why it breaks your fast. That it starts.
It doesn't have to be calories. Yeah, it can be a lot of different things. It can be anything that triggers any kind of like endocrine or insulin response.
Something like that. Yeah. But I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure.
Well, we should look it up. You have like
God damn it! I'm playing. I just want to play Path of Exile. Okay.
All right,
No, this is too literal. Okay.
I'll do it.
I actually,
Better
I was
question.
looking up the sex thing a while ago. I was actually curious about that. If breaking, if like swallowing like sexual fluids would actually cause your fast to break, if that actually mattered or not. I don't know.
There's protein in semen, right? Like literal, like legit protein.
Yeah, not very, very little, but yeah, there is. Yeah. Well, protein and then other sugars, because you have to create an environment that the sperm can swim in and like get nutrients from.
Huh. I'm looking this up right now. Oh, I'm getting into these like stupid like. Oh, here's actually a pretty good website. Let's see.
How much, Destiny, I think you researched this. How much of that whole, like, your body adjusts to, like, if you go into quote-unquote starvation mode, like, let's say I start only eating 700 calories a day, and I do that for 2 months to lose a lot of weight. When I stop doing that, have I fucked myself permanently, or is that
Destiny,
immune?
I pray to God you destroy
if you would have
Taylor
asked me
from
before-
PK in a debate
Hold
on
on.
the podcast. Literally every one of us is hoping you make Taylor look like an idiot.
Wow, thanks. Okay, sorry. If you would have asked me that a month ago, I would have said no, that your calories that you burn is just going to be based on the size of your body and everything, your age and gender. But I'm not so sure now. I don't know.
Okay, I think I have a good answer. So it seems like coffee and green tea actually reduce insulin sensitivity and glucose tolerance. So
Wait, reduce insulin sensitivity and increase... That's a bad thing, right?
over the long term, it improves insulin sensitivity and glucose tolerance.
Oh, okay,
Many
okay.
studies find that the more coffee you drink, the lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. And there's a link to NCBI study here that says that.
Interesting.
So context, type 2 diabetes, major health, blah, blah, blah. Conclusions. Evidence indicates that coffee consumption is inversely associated with the risk of type 2 diabetes. Mechanisms behind association include thermodynamic, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory effects, modulation of adenosine receptor signaling, and microbiome content and diversity. So it's saying that coffee in this reference is saying coffee would be good for a fast, but then it says coffee with butter, MCT oil, or coconut oil breaks a fast. But pure fat has little to no effect on insulin or blood glucose. Any other measurement that indicates a broken fast. So you will technically break your fast on coffee with butter or MCT oil or coconut oil, but you won't break it on pure coffee or.
And this is coming from a study?
It's coming from several studies. Yes.
Good. Yeah, see, this is why I don't believe. I just got caught doing it.
What?
You should never cite anything that you hear on Joe Rogan without researching it first. Because
fuck.
that line that I just gave you, it was from the lady that was on Joe Rogan. Because I think she literally opened saying that if you drink black coffee, it will break a fast. Actually, I'm going to listen to like the first minute of this because I'm pretty sure she says it right at the beginning. Hold on.
Yeah, I actually am really curious. I want to watch that too.
Yeah, actually, I can link this to you. Hold on.
Yeah.
Even if it's black. So people think if they have black.
I can also just watch your stream.
Oh, wow. Actually, I have the timestamp saved. I don't know why. Hold on.
Let's go. I'm going to watch your stream.
Oh, okay, sure.
Oh, this is Rhonda Patrick.
Black.
She's
People
like
think if they have
legit.
black coffee. They're fasting, they go run. But black coffee is caffeine is a xenobiotic. It's something that has to be metabolized by liver enzymes. Your gut processes it. So anything that
Other than water.
Exactly. Anything other than water. And the same goes for like taking vitamin pills, drinking herbal tea late at night. Like the same thing goes.
Even herbal tea.
Herbal tea is also got herb stuff in it. So
Non-caffeinated herbal tea, like
yeah, because those are xenobiotics. Chamomile. I mean, that stuff's got to be processed by your liver. Your gut. It's not water.
Right.
You know. So I mean, and this is something that's kind of a
So that very first part, right? Is she saying that even drinking black coffee or herbal teas or whatever can break your fast? That's why I'm saying that. But maybe that's not true. This is why I say I should never take anything from Joe Rogan's podcast at face value, and I say that multiple times. And I just did it on stream and I got caught being wrong because of it. But,
Oh god, dude!
Yeah.
If I couldn't take anything from Joe Rogan's podcast, I don't think I'd have a platform.
no, you
That's
really
like
can't.
half-
You gotta. I think that it's
No,
an
I know,
amazing
yeah.
starting point, but you've got to research more because I personally have come across a lot of things on Joe Rogan's podcast that I know are not true, and I've researched afterwards like this is not true, and then yeah, like there's another example. Yeah. So
The thing with Rogan, the thing with Dr. Rhonda Patrick though is like she is like a legit. It makes me question the study because she is a legit researcher, like doing work in nutrition.
sure, but like
lab
this is
every
gonna
day.
sound like really arrogant of me to say, but when people wander even a little bit outside of what their specific research is, they can say some crazy shit. Like I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast. I think you've listened to of the mushroom guy.
Oh yeah, Paul Stamos.
Yeah,
right?
who that guy says some crazy fucking shit, dude. Like
He said that there was he said that there was definitive facts and studies that the Earth is a neural fungal network.
yeah,
that's,
that like the
that is
fungal
all
are like
connected.
that the fungals are almost like sentient beings in terms of their decision making progress and that they can solve problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's some things that
That's some pretty crazy shit. Yeah, and like you have to wonder when that's coming from a guy who like in the same sentence will then say, oh, and by the way, I was doing like 15 grams of mushrooms sitting in a tree in a lightning storm. Like you're like, okay, I don't know how far this guy goes.
Yeah. And the thing that
He
sucks
said-
is that as soon as they say one crazy thing like that, it kind of like casts a doubt on everything that they say.
Yeah.
You know?
He said that there was like a 4-kilometer long living organism that is a single mushroom.
Well, it's not a single mushroom. He said it's a network of mushrooms. That might actually be true. I didn't look into that, but that might actually be true.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is
I
like
was
a
wondering if
really
that was
old
true as
thing
well.
that's huge.
Wait, what, Dan?
No, that's true. That thing does exist.
People
I
in
read
chat are
about
saying that this guy is crazy and has no credentials. He has a DEA license, doesn't he? Is it
Yes.
from the DEA to actually grow psilocybin? So like,
The United States government pays him to research various types of mushrooms. He's
Yeah.
individually identified over 14,000 strains. If there's anybody that knows anything about mushrooms, it's this dude.
yeah. So I
But
wouldn't say the
still,
guy is
like-
a total hack. Like I don't think that's fair to say. Like the guy is.
Yeah, it's just like, I guess you can get the thing is like not only like when you stray from your own field, but also like you can get caught up in your own memes too, right?
Yeah, I've noticed this actually, a very strange phenomenon where this is actually one of the reasons why I like those bio lectures I listen to much. Sometimes people will study one thing and then they view every single thing in life through that singular paradigm instead of taking like a more kind of like multifaceted or multidisciplined approach to analyzing a problem. I notice sometimes that. So
Yeah.
like I noticed that this happens with marijuana kids. It happened with that guy with mushrooms, where it's like they find a thing and then they identify some things where it could genuinely be awesome, like it could genuinely be useful, but then they start to make it sound like this one thing is literally the solution to all of life's problems. Like mushrooms can cure cancer, can cure depression, can cure environmental problems. He was saying that mushrooms were going to be the key to saving the bees. Like every single problem could be, and it's like, okay, well, like. Dude, like really, marijuana people will do this a lot. Where it's like marijuana will cure. I could actually. Joe Rogan does this a little bit.
What's that one oil? CBD.
CBD, yeah.
Yeah,
That it can
CBD is
cure
like-
cancer, that it can cure depression, that it can do like every single fucking mystical awesome shit. Yeah.
Yeah, this goes way back in human history. Have you ever heard of Ayurvedic medicine?
Nope.
Okay, so this is an old form of Indian medicine, okay, and Ayurvedic medicine is like has a huge basis now in Western society of like yoga and like it's been transferred over. One of the cures for Ayurvedic medicine, if you have like a serious problem in your body, they give you a hat and they pour a liquid in the hat, and then they like soak it in your head, right? It's like total bro science. Like everything in it is like bro science. The thing with like this is like so pervasive in like meditation or like yoga, where like meditation can like there's like some studies that come out that say like, oh, meditation can like cure depression, and then like you immediately think like, okay, people are saying like meditation can cure cancer, have all these different effects. It's like crazy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like it's a lot of it starts as crazy, but like it's not all necessarily crazy, right? Like I'm sure it's built on things of truth, right? Like plants are what we get a lot of our medicines and whatnot, from today,
Yeah, they have fun. Well, I'm like the king of bro science. I love bro science, right? Like I'm spouting bro science all the time, but also because I believe that like you can't for what I'm concerned with, right? Which is optimal human living. In the moment, you're living in the best way possible, feeling the best way possible, being the best way possible. I don't think that our research reaches out long enough to figure that stuff out, and that some of that has to be exponential at this point, because we're not sure if things like meditation have like huge benefits in other ways, right? Like we haven't explored that to 100% of its natural end, right?
Sure.
In the same way as nutrition. So like some bro science is beneficial, like but you can get into like, have you ever heard of a guy named Ben Greenfield?
Nope.
So Ben Greenfield, he's on Joe Rogan's podcast all the time.
Okay.
And one of the things this guy does is he stands in front of like a infrared light or like a red light naked, and like he will like say that this has like enormous benefits like to him, like sexually and like physically, and like he feels great, right?
Okay.
So he does all these like really crazy things. But when you actually go to his YouTube channel, he's talking to like legit researchers, and like again, like this is like the same as like the mushroom guy thing, right? Like he's like a legit researcher, like he's made his career off of this, but he does some really weird shit. So I think where I operate personally is within the line of like bro science, but not too far off into like that red light place.
Mm-hmm.
But like, will I try magnesium threonate because I think that it might have benefits on passing the blood-brain barrier and has some really interesting things about like long-term memory. Like I'll definitely try that, because I think that even though the research might not yet be there, it could be really interesting what it does. I'm really interested in like nootropics and stuff like that, like supplements and things like that are really interesting to me for those reasons.
Wait, but you haven't ever taken that really famous nootropic though, right?
Alpha Brain?
No, what's the one everyone talks about? Fuck.
I've taken a lot of Alpha Brain, or maybe you're talking about the actual pharmaceutical, which is the one that's based on Limitless, or the one that Limitless was based on. It's called modafinil.
Yeah, that one. You've never done that?
I haven't done modafinil because of the because there's like a lot of implications to like time skips and like psychotic episodes. I don't really fuck with like really heavy duty pharmaceuticals like that, but I'm not opposed to it.
Well, why? Yeah, why? You should try that, because I'd be very interested to see like what that does. Just not on me. But like,
I don't know.
Why not try that? That seems like more studied than like eating magnesium or whatever you're talking about.
There's pretty decent research about the benefits of magnesium threonate and like chelated magnesium. It's not like an unknown field. I think like way weirder would be I'm doing some like host defense mushrooms where I'm doing like lion's mane and like a lot of like weird different types of mushrooms that supposedly help your immune system and stuff.
Oh, what was the one is it Stannis that he like jerks off hardcore? Was it lion's
Yeah,
mane?
I bought those. I bought those based on the Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah, to see what would happen. And so like that's like a huge meme compared to like magnesium. Magnesium is pretty well researched.
Have you heard anything about mushrooms treating depression?
Yeah.
I have a friend that microdoses psilocybin, and like listening to him talk, it's pretty insane. Like it sounds like holy shit.
Like in terms of like the benefits of it, right?
Yeah, like that it really helps him, that it pulls him out of his like kind of depressive state, that without them he feels like the whole world is kind of dull and meaningless and nothing really matters, but that when he's on them, like things are more interesting again, he can have fun. One of the things that upsets me the most about U.S. drug policy is that, like, if you want to have like your fucking stupid crusade against black people and marijuana or whatever, that's fine. But the fact that it makes it so fucking hard to research, I consider it to be like a great moral evil. Like, I would consider like the DEA to be like taking part in incredibly moral evil activities when they prevent us from researching, especially because, and like, as much as I hate the fucking weed bros and shit, there is a lot of good evidence that shows that cannabis can have incredibly calming effects on chemotherapy. And as somebody that's watched his child's mom go through chemotherapy, the idea that like these types of things are not available to us because of some weird old white racist Republican doesn't want like black people to smoke weed or something is like, it's like very fucking upsetting to me.
It's so messed up. Yeah. It's so messed up. Like the fact that we can't even do the research on these things
so
because
fucked.
psilocybin is a Schedule 1. Yeah.
Well, other countries must have been doing it though, where it's not illegal though, right?
Yeah, and that's where we're getting a lot of our research from, right? But a lot of other countries have the same problem because they're following the example of the U.S. I'm really interested in the antidepressant stuff that comes from both psilocybin and LSD. Both have those like implications. I knew a lot of really high-level people in Silicon Valley that do it.
Have you? Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, next.
Yeah.
The microdosing of psilocybin in San Francisco.
It's a huge cultural thing in San Francisco and even in LA to some extent. Yeah.
I could totally see
actually.
it working. Like having the experience now, like the idea that like new connections and shit or whatever are formed in your brain, I could totally understand that might enable you to do things or like form ideas or help you in ways that maybe you couldn't otherwise. It's like, yeah, it's really interesting.
We're talking about minute doses compared to what you did, though.
Oh,
right?
no,
So
no,
we're
no,
not
no,
even
no,
talking
I
a
totally know.
gram.
Well, yeah, no, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that like the capability of, yeah, I think it was
It's like 10
0.1.
mcg.
Yeah, it's like 0.1
Yeah.
or something, or less like grams of psilocybin. But like the big functioning part of psilocybin is supposed to be that it allows your neurons and shit to connect in ways that they don't normally, or like to form more connections and to kind of like put those things together in ways that won't normally happen. So
Yeah, neurogenesis, which is like the creation of
like
new
that.
neurons
Yeah,
within
new
those,
neural pathways and shit. Yeah, and like well, I guess like before I had my experience with psilocybin, when I think of drugs, I think of like marijuana, where like nothing new or crazy is happening. You just like feel really giggly or goofy, so it's kind of dumb. But like post like trying like shrooms, now I can see that like holy shit, like your mind can work in ways that are unimaginable to you that you have no idea. So it makes that seem more realistic to me. Obviously, I know not everybody needs to like go like crazy or whatever, but.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like I really love the implication of that, and like just the amount of sort of like anecdotal and experiential stuff that I've like heard from a lot of people is enough for me to like give it a shot. But as like in my area, I can't. It
Yeah.
sucks.
Well,
Yeah.
you could start growing them.
Is it true that it's not exactly illegal to do that? I've heard like that there's some
It's gotta be
weird
illegal.
loop. No, there's some like apparently there's some, I'm sure chat can impact, but I think there's like some kind of like weird like wraparound in the law that like as long as you're growing them and then you're not selling them, there's like something weird about it.
Do you think it's legal to grow marijuana? I mean, they're both Schedule 1 drugs. What other applications can apply?
You're right. Yeah, I might be totally wrong then.
I could be totally wrong. I just know it's a Schedule 1 drug. If it's a Schedule 1 drug, that means that it's recognized as highly harmful and having no medical benefits, no recognized medical benefits. So it's what a scheduled drug is. This is why even things like heroin or whatever, opioids or whatever, are not Schedule 1 drugs. They're, I think, Schedule 2. But Schedule 1 is like the worst category of like it can be incredibly harmful and addictive and all that, and it has no recognized medical benefits. So the idea that you could grow them seems.
Oh, Chad is saying that it's not illegal to buy spores in many states.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can do other things with the spores. I have no idea.
Why would that be? Does anyone know the law behind that? Sounds really weird.
Is it illegal to buy cannabis seeds? Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't think it is actually. I remember back in the day, High Times would let you buy seeds.
Is heroin Schedule 1? Wait, is it?
It would have to be.
No way.
How could mushrooms and marijuana be Schedule 1, but heroin isn't?
Because in order to be a Schedule 1 drug, you have to have no recognized medical application, I thought.
Oh, and there's opiates, so yeah, okay.
Yeah,
there's like,
heroin
a lot of
has
benefits
a
to
recognized-
morphine. Yeah.
Unless I'm wrong in defining that. I feel like I've read the definition a million times. Oh, heroin is a Schedule 1. Is it because there are other like painkillers or whatever that take its place? Is that why? Oh, so Vicodin is a Schedule 2. Vicodin and OxyContin are Schedule 2. Maybe that's because they would prescribe that instead. Schedule 1, okay, so it says under here, this is from the DA website, Schedule 1 drugs, substances, or chemicals are defined as drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Some examples of Schedule 1 drugs are heroin, LSD, marijuana, 4-methylene dioxamethamphetamine, ecstasy, I can't pronounce that whole word, methaqualone, and peyote. Oh, shit.
Wait, what level is peyote?
Schedule 1.
Oh man, that's interesting. I feel like marijuana and being in the Schedule 1 is like so obviously like a political move, right?
Oh,
like
of course. It's a fuck black people. It's the war on drugs, dude.
Yeah.
Wait,
God,
can someone
it's
explain this to me? Am I retarded? I thought that heroin was a painkiller. Is it not?
Morphine is, but I don't think is heroin exactly the same thing as morphine?
Oh, maybe
like,
not.
What's the difference?
Oh, wait, maybe morphine is used as substance. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I think morphine is based on the same stuff that heroin is, isn't it?
Heroin is a diamorphine. Let's see. This would be good research stuff. Is an opioid most commonly used as a recreational drug for its euphoric effects. Medically, it is used in several countries to relieve pain or an opioid replacement therapy.
Wasn't heroin initially created as a drug by like pharmaceutical companies? It was, right?
Maybe it's just because we prescribe other stuff instead of heroin, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's so strange to me that in America we're so free and we celebrate our freedom so much that I could be walking through a forest and find like a mushroom growing in the ground and I could eat that, and that's like a criminal offense. That's so mind-blowing to me.
Isn't that bizarre?
That's like one of the most insanely, weirdly things to a country that jerks off its freedom so much that like that could actually happen. Or same thing with a plant that I could find marijuana and then like make a pipe and like pack it and smoke it, and that's like a federal crime, like a big boy crime. Like that's insane to me.
I feel like, do you feel like there's like the same argument can be made for people that like want to have land, and they're like, it's insane to me that I can't just walk outside and build a house on like, you know what I mean? Like it feels like that's like a slippery slope.
Because I can understand that because the land is owned by the federal government and it's usually purposed for things. Like if we were to say that anybody could go build a house anywhere, then people would be like literally killing themselves trying to build houses on federally owned land and shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as like people that are
no, they just like have a plant and want to smoke it in their own personal time, and they're not infringing on anybody else's property or rights or anything like that. Like
yeah, I agree. I'm trying to figure out how to get these follow notifications to stop sending to me on my email, because as soon as we announced the breaker thing, like some billion people started following it.
Wait, what is breaker?
It's Dan and I's new show.
Oh, is it like a podcast?
Yeah, we're gonna do like a show and bring on guests and stuff and talk to people.
Oh,
Tell them who our first guest is gonna be.
Mr. Mooten? Sorry.
I kind of want it to be Steven, but you want it to be video game attorney. Right?
Yeah, I do. You got that relationship in place.
You know what you should do is, it's so funny, okay? Like team owners think that like agencies and shit are constantly fucking over players, and like agencies and shit and like people like Ryan Morrison who like work as like individual representatives for players think that teams and shit are you should bring on like Ryan Morrison to debate with like Raynat.
Oh god. Yeah.
Dude,
and
that
like,
would be fucking so funny. Holy shit.
That would be really good. Yeah. The problem is that in those kind of conversations, like it ends up you can't really say anything because everything's so NDA that like, so a conversation like that would be really interesting if you and I were sitting at a dinner table and listening to it. But on stream, I'm not sure, because like literally like 95% of what you can say is like cut off by NDAs or like weird shit in the industry that you can't talk about.
Maybe a little bit, but like you can reference like past things where teams or players have gotten fucked and like use that to make your point and whatnot. But yeah, I know what you say, because like everybody has like a different view of like how different events have played out in history. And like I've heard, being a streamer, I've heard tons of different points of view. Like, you know, like was Reggie like a smart business owner, or was he like an oppressive piece of shit? And like I've heard so many different things from you and from other people in the industry, from players and team owners and talent reps. Like people have such different opinions based on what part of the industry you work. This is really interesting to me.
Yeah, It is very different depending on where you worked too. Yeah, for sure.
Wait, VJ has switched and now does work for teams. Is that true?
VJ has always done work for teams.
Really? I thought VJ was working
Yeah.
as an individual rep for a while.
He
I'm
does
sorry.
represent.
Let me be clear.
Yeah.
He doesn't work for a team. He works with teams on behalf of players. Is that what it is? Or
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay,
To my knowledge, I don't. No, for sure. VJ, as far as I know, I'm almost positive that VGA has never worked as a representative of an entire team as an organization.
Gotcha,
I think that'd be really counterproductive to what he's trying to do.
exactly. Yeah, which is what I'm.
yeah. Yeah, that's like, yeah, for sure. And like, he's definitely like, and then like recently when I just contacted him to be a guest on the podcast, he used the words like player. What was the words like player
Advocate
side
or something?
yeah, something like that. So like he's still well within that meme.
Yeah.
But I would say that the players need more advocacy than the teams do. So it's good that someone like him exists.
Yeah, of course. Players are fucking stupid.
Oh, Steven, yeah.
Is he still working for that same law firm, or is he on his own now?
He's always had his own law firm, right?
Well, he
don't
works
know.
with he's not actually like one of the partnered guys there. I think it's his brother, Morrison Lee,
Okay.
that does a lot of the litigation. I don't think Ryan himself does litigation. I could be wrong on that, though.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Well, maybe you should find that out before he's a guest on your fucking show. Be a
Give
little
me some
polite.
good.
I can
topics
ask
for
him when he's on my fucking show.
Hey, so
like,
Ryan,
hey,
now that you're here, what the fuck do you even do? Oh, wait, you're not involved with any of that at all? Well,
Isn't that
Bring
how
on
you
the
start off
second guest.
everything? Like
no.
when you had your
You bring on a
debate with
guest, you're
him-
like, hey, like, you're really fascinating. I'm halfway through your new book that you wrote. Like, let's talk about it.
when you debated him, your setup was that, right? Like you came in, you're like, hey, like, so what do you actually do? And then, if I'm not wrong, when you met him, your initial impression of him was profoundly negative, and then after you talked to him, you realized he's a pretty sweet guy, right? Is that correct?
I only talked to him again because you spoke him up so much. But yeah, we made up.
Okay.
But
But you did okay.
but I didn't do a podcast with him. That's a different thing, homie.
I mean, okay, so you talked to a guy
I just shit on people on my
a
stream.
live platform for 2 hours. I mean, you can
Sure.
call it what you want. Yeah. It sure sounds like a podcast to me.
Nah, I don't think so. This is more a live, off the cuff. Plus, everybody knows I'm too lazy to read, unless it's Lauren Southern's book. That I'll get out of bed for that.
I
But,
can't believe you read that and nothing else. Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty bad.
You should read books, my dude.
Yeah, probably.
Why? On the books.
I think at the very well.
I know
Steven
you're a
once-
book reader without even
I'm a
knowing
huge
it. I know
book
you're
reader.
a book reader. Yeah,
But
I know.
Steven
You're
said,
never in your life gonna meet. This might be totally fallacious, but you will never meet in your life somebody that reads a ton that is a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think it just it helps to keep your mind active and everything. Sorry, go ahead.
That reads a lot of nonfiction, I think.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, if you're
Yeah.
reading like every single edition of like 50 Shades of Grey. Although I think there's
Exactly.
even fiction, I think, has some redeeming value to it. I think that reading like decently, like heavier fictions can help. I think.
It could.
You cut out, or did I cut out?
He did.
Oh, good. Fuck him.
Yeah.
He's a book
readers.
hater.
They think they're so goddamn
Back
superior.
in reading,
like vegans.
Oh, there he is. You know who the funniest book elitists are? Have you ever
Who?
Have you ever read the book subreddit?
Oh no.
There's like a group of people that fucking hate like Kindles and shit. Like if you're not reading physical actual books, it doesn't count.
Oh,
Wait, really?
Yeah, those are like the funniest.
I feel like you'd benefit a lot from reading like Nietzsche and like Hume and like Durant and all those guys. Like I think you'd like really get into that kind of stuff because you said that if you ever went to school, you would
I
went
do
back to school,
philosophy,
you
yeah,
would do
but, like,
philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reading philosophy is so fucking dry. Holy shit. I don't know.
It
man.
takes like if you read like I remember when I was reading Jung, it would take me like sometimes an entire day to get through a page because I'm just like holy shit, like there's just so much to unpackage here.
Sure.
I think there's some stuff I'd like to read, but I never seem to get around to it. Like I feel like there's probably a lot of business knowledge you could get out of something like The Art of War, but like it's a whole thing to get through it, you know?
Well, I think for business knowledge though, there's stuff that's distilled into actual business books. Like you'd want to read you want to read like the 4-Hour Workweek, for example, from Tim Ferriss. Is like a very classic book about like business memes. Or like you'd want to read what's some of the best business books I've ever read. Some like marketing stuff. I had to go to like Dan Kennedy and stuff like that. Like
The Art of the Deal.
Oh,
I
shit.
think I'm good. I haven't read it, so maybe it's really good.
Isn't The Art of the Deal supposed to be really good? I thought that was like a pretty heavily recommended book. Regardless of whether you think about Trump, I thought that most people thought that was really good. Oh, man. You must have read this book, Devin. Have you heard of the book? Fuck, what's it called? It's called like The 1 Hour Body or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
4 Hour Body.
Is it 4 Hour Body?
That's another Tim
By
Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss?
bullshit.
Oh, is it the same guy that does a 4 Hour Work Week?
Yeah, I've read that. I've read every 4 Hour book, and I've read a lot of
okay.
the. I've read the Tribe of Mentors book too. I've read every Tim Ferriss book. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. That seems like the kind of book you'd be really interested in.
What did you think of
There's a
that book,
lot of
Steven?
good stuff in there. Are you like coming from the standpoint that you like think that it's all a bunch of memes?
Kind of. I've read a lot of pretty harsh critiques on that book, but there's
Have you
like-
read the book?
No. I've read the book.
I think both of those, all Tim Ferriss books, I think are kind of memes personally, but that's just me.
Okay, so Tim Ferriss, let's just put it on the table here. Okay, has a net worth of over $30 million. He's invested in first round
Wait, how
in
old is
companies
he?
like Uber. He's in his 30s, right? Or
He's
is
not
he-
even a billionaire yet. He's almost
Hang on.
he's almost 40 years old. Why would I listen to anything this fucking failure says?
I feel like I can.
He's 40.
Go ahead.
Okay, and has has one of the most successful podcasts on earth. Okay, so like none of the fuckers in chat or on this phone call are like, I fucking hate this shit. If someone has achieved at the level that he has, I don't think that most people have any business really challenging that. You like critiquing like the individual issues is like really fine, but to dog on him as a person and be like, well, this guy's like completely full of shit, really disempowers the hundreds of thousands of people that he's
Ooh.
positively influenced.
Actually,
I don't
totally disagree
agree
with
at
that.
all. I think a lot of Tim Ferriss stuff we've actually talked about earlier is pure like survivorship type of bias. Like, how can you suggest that you can do a 4-hour work week like that? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think
Because
he's a
that has
brilliant
nothing to do with what
self-promoter.
the book actually says. You didn't read it. It has
I
nothing
did
to
read
do
it.
with 4-hour work weeks. You did read
I
it?
did read it. Yes, I did.
Then you should know that it has nothing to do with an actual 4-hour work week. And nowhere in that book does he suggest that you can become a rich person working 4 hours a week. He never says that.
I'd have to go back and reread it again. But
No, I mean, I
remember
promise
going
it's
through it
very
that
deliberate.
I felt a lot of the advice was very, like 9,000 or whatever, 30,000 feet in the air looking down, and it wasn't very realistic to be applied. You didn't
There's
think that at
super
all?
actionable stuff in that book, like hiring virtual assistants or organizing email in a certain way or batching processes in business. Like there's incredibly actionable stuff that you can apply to your business right now that will make it more efficient. Maybe not you, because I think you're at a pretty high level, but a lot of people that benefit from that book. And there's use cases of hundreds, if not thousands, of people that have read that book and started successful businesses based on that inspiration. So like, how can you discount it? I just don't like these, like, so let me be really clear. I'm sure there's a lot of problems with Tim Ferriss, okay? But I don't like these, like, really broad statements like, oh, this guy's like a meme lord or a hacker or whatever, just because, like, that's not true. Like, he's influenced hundreds of thousands of people across the earth through his podcast, through his shows, through his content, and obviously is like a very big net positive for humanity, much more so than the people that are criticizing him most likely.
I just reject the idea that, and I saw it happen so much in gaming, just because you've succeeded in some way does not make you a good teacher. I think that teaching is a totally separate skill that has to be practiced, studied and practiced, I think. That's why I'm a big fan of like cognitive psychology and shit. Like you'll see like a lot of pro gamers will say things like, oh, well, you know, like if you just grind like 10 hours a day, you know, like you'll get way better at this
You'll
game.
get good.
Yeah, and it's like, that's not how everybody improves. Like you have no idea like what it takes to actually improve or what the actual process, because a lot of people, and this happens too, like a lot of people that are successful, a lot of these processes can be unconscious. Like it's just something that you happen to do and you're not even aware that you do it, you know? A lot of people will undersell or oversell themselves like that without even realizing it. You know, like somebody might say like, oh, you know, I don't really think I do anything special, you know, to be successful. You know, I just try my hardest. But maybe this person can literally study for 8 hours a day and they're totally fine with that, you know, and they're totally underwriting how important that is. Or another person might say, you know, like, oh, you know, well, I studied super hard for all of the interview processes. And, you know, I think that my way of interviewing is the best way ever. And if you follow, you'll get every job like I have. And in reality, the person might actually be really tall, really handsome, really charismatic. And that's why they float through interviews so well. It's not because of any special strategy they do. They just happen to look really nice and they're very presentable and they're very friendly and funny, you know? I think a lot of times people have a hard time separating out why they're successful. So they might mistake some weird pseudo hacky bullshit for like, you know, well, every day when I woke up, you know, I put like a toadstool underneath my pillow and this gave me what I needed to succeed. When in reality, the person's just a really confident person who was willing to take risks or whatever anyway. And that toadstool was a total red herring to their success.
Do you remember the idea you had? I always like this from you when you would say that a lot of people can't teach StarCraft.
Yeah.
Because like even though they're a pro in StarCraft, like you had this like very organized way you went about teaching people in StarCraft. Like, okay, I think your way was to learn one build.
Yeah, you learn one
really
thing and you start building up fundamental skills. Yeah, there's like really basic cognitive psych stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with you on like the teachers thing. I just like and Tim Ferriss in particular, right? This is a guy who has dedicated his life to building those structures in teaching to give people the most efficient way possible to learn those skills, right? So like it's what so like, and the thing is like Tim Ferriss will do I think the reason why he gets a bad rap, or I guess your community is like, I haven't seen almost a single person in chat that's like positive to him. So your community seems like really hate this guy. And I think like one of the reasons that might be is because his presentation is very clickbaity, right? Like the 4-hour work week, the 4-hour body, right?
Oh, but it's supposed to be clickbaity to bring them into it.
That's not the problem. Motivational speakers. I told you this before. Everyone hates motivational speakers, and I mean, I know you mentioned he's an investor, but dude, he invested in deals that me or you could not have invested in. So yeah, okay, I don't know if he actually did it. I think he said Uber. So great, he invested in Uber. You know what? You couldn't have done that. It didn't matter what you wanted to do.
Nope, he was vastly successful, sold a multi-million-dollar business before that. So don't give me that shit. He was
but I'm saying we couldn't have invested in Uber. It doesn't matter how great an investor we are. We couldn't have done it.
It doesn't matter. That wasn't indicative of his success. He had multiple companies that he sold for millions of dollars beforehand. He had MRR that was way past anything that you or I have ever done in our businesses. He is way more successful than you and I combined before he ever even touched Uber or any of those first-round investments. So what now?
No, I understand all that, but I don't think that it's bringing up the point that he was a successful investor is super valuable when your friends are, he's a very good, he's a very charismatic guy. He's a professional self-promoter, and people like that can essentially attract those people like that. And the fact that
doesn't discount the hundreds of thousands of people that he has benefited. Like, what the fuck? Like, you're saying that, like, you can say like Tony Robbins is a hack.
So
right?
wait. So real careful. You got to be really careful about this too. And this is gonna sound like so shitty. I'm sorry to do this to you, but when you say that like he's benefited a lot of people, the people that are going out looking for self-help stuff are probably the people that are trying to better themselves. So of course, if I take a room of 100 people and 50 are seeking out self-help stuff and the other 50 aren't, just due to the fact that those 50 are looking for ways to improve their lives, they're probably going to be having better outcomes than the other people, right? Now, I could provide them a way to do it, and a lot of those people are going to be more successful than the other 50 that aren't even looking, but that doesn't necessarily mean that my way was necessarily better than any other way or even positive at all. It might be that just through them trying to improve their lives, they managed to better themselves in other ways, right?
We're getting in a really weird subjective place that's just like, how are people motivated to find their own self-improvement? So like, let me give you an example of like, okay, a guy is getting off an airplane. Tim Ferriss usually does a marketing strategy where he shows up in airplane bookstores, but a major way that he gets his 4-hour books out there.
An airplane bookstore? Oh, like in the airport or whatever?
Like, airport bookstore, sorry.
Okay,
not a bookstore on an airplane. Yeah, like, like airport bookstores where you like kind of hang out and like you like go like, you've probably been in an airport, you've been bored, walk into one of those bookstores.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, there's tons of them. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll always be on the front of those places, and he deliberately does that marketing to get in front of people. So let's say that you haven't really thought about motivating yourself. You kind of thought that you wanted to do a small business. Maybe you don't really like your 9-to-5. You go over and you pick up his book off of there. You decide to buy it. You read it on the airplane, and it changes your life, right? Is that a guy that was looking for motivation? Is that a person that was looking for like that kind of affirmation through someone like Tony Robbins or Tim Ferriss? I know the groupies that you're talking about, the guys that like go to every Unleash the Power Within, right? And like, jump up and down and like want to improve their lives.
I think you were trying to get a no, but I would answer yes. If you're the type of person to even buy a book and read it, you're already like a slim minority of the population. But if you're the kind of guy that would buy that over like a random thriller or a random like expose about whatever bullshit, like tabloid bullshit, or like the biography of John McCain or some shit, then yeah, I think you probably are more in a position to want to improve yourself.
Okay, and so I guess like what you're trying to, so let me try to understand what you're saying. So you're saying that by virtue of being in a position to want to improve yourself, that takes away from the authenticity of a person like Tim because he's only catering to those people?
It's not that it takes away from it. It's that this is why double-blind studies exist. It would be interesting to take 50 people that read Tim Ferriss's stuff and then put them in a group against 50 people that read somebody else's and then see who has better outcomes. Not just people looking to improve end up improving, and they also happen to read Tim Ferriss's books, but I don't know if I can actually causally connect these two things.
Okay, that's very fair. What I don't understand is like, how does that... So like Dan saying like, I have a problem with motivational speakers because the people that associate with them tend to be these sort of like
fanatics.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
that's just like Dan kind of doing like an anecdotal. I don't like this for a kind of non sequitur.
Well, no, it's
kind
not
of...
that. I mean, especially if you're to poll other people, like there's all of this stuff it smells so scammy all the time. Like especially like if you dare I say like go on YouTube, like who is that guy with like all the book? He's showing all the books and his Ferraris in his car. Like this
Here
is
in
like,
my garage.
Yeah, like this is literally the view that people have over like self-proclaimed like motivational coaches or success coaches. It's just like I hate that shit. I don't doubt that there is value to be added, but it's such a disgusting industry in my opinion. That's all.
I disagree with that. I think the disgusting part that I would get into, and I know this very well because my parents were very much involved in this multi-level marketing shit. Do you know what Amway is? Have you ever heard of that shit?
Yeah.
Oh my God, my parents say that. Is when you've got companies that sell a lot of shit. That's when I think it gets really disgusting. If you pick up a Tim Ferriss book and you get like super fucking hyped on some shit he says, even if it's not necessarily true, I don't think there's anything wrong or immoral about that. But if Tim Ferriss is like, you got to buy the 12-hour Tim Ferriss life coach program, and then you've got to get the 15 Tim Ferriss like patented protein shakes or some shit. I think at that point, I think it becomes fair to take an issue like this is some scumbag shit.
I completely agree, and that's what I want to differentiate. I'm defending motivational speakers so strongly because I think there's a very broad spectrum of these motivational speakers. On one end, you get guys that are like, buy my course, and like basically their whole business is the business
Selling
of marketing this.
Shit.
Yeah. Then you get other people, and I'll bring up like a really good example, like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Where Gary Vaynerchuk is the head of a 900-person media agency in New York. He has absolutely no interest, or I shouldn't say that. It obviously benefits him his company a great deal to have his brand that he does, but he absolutely doesn't need to have that brand to monetize. He doesn't really use his brand to sell anything, and he puts out hundreds and hundreds of hours of good business content on YouTube and on his social media platforms in order to benefit people. And so I think there's a spectrum of motivational speakers. And unfortunately, I agree with Dan in the sense that like the vast majority of these motivational speakers, especially people that would call themselves that. Dan said something really intelligent to me. I had success coach in my Twitter profile for a while. And Dan was, and I'd already taken it out, but Dan was like, take that shit out, right? And he's absolutely right in that because like that's a weasel word that implies that like I'm in that sort of category of people that somehow knows how to like drive success towards people better than like someone else, right? But then there's people that like don't monetize off it and are legitimately trying to provide value, and those are the people like Tim Ferriss, like Gary Vaynerchuk that I want to defend because they're not in that category.
Sure. Yeah, I guess my big thing would be I would look and see what products are you selling to determine the authenticity of what you're
I think
doing.
that's actually a really good way to do it. Yeah. So Tim Ferriss, he sells a book every once in a while. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a course. He doesn't have any kind of like seminars. He monetizes mostly through personal investments and through his books. And then Gary, same thing. Gary's a 4-time New York Times bestseller. Doesn't have any kind of course or product. He DMCA'd a course that came up on Udemy that it said was him. So yeah, and then like, but then if you go down and like look at, see now I wonder about people like Tony Robbins, right? Like I'm a really big fan of Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins does have all those marketing courses and all that other stuff, but I think he has a lot of value to provide too. And he's kind of like the classic motivational guy, right?
Sure.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of things that can add value, but also be kind of bad in the same part. I wish I could have examples. I feel like there's probably a lot of religious things that would come up here where, yeah, like going to church is like fundamentally good and builds community, but sometimes you can get involved in like the mega churches where it's actually pretty bad because, essentially you're giving all your money so this guy can buy a jet. And I mean, there's just a lot of advantages and disadvantages things, yeah.
Why are you laughing? They do fly. Have you seen the video of them?
It's just so ridiculous. I know it's true.
Have you seen the video of them justifying why they own the jets?
No.
Oh, dude, it's actually an amazing. It is one of my biggest problems, and it's so funny that I went to Catholic school for so long because I think I have a pretty good vision of like what Jesus' life was like and the messages he was trying to sell and how far removed so many Christians are from these like very like pretty fucking hippie messages. Love your enemy, love everybody, give away all your possessions, like all this shit. It's so funny to see like billionaires talking about how important low taxation is for the Christian fucking religious bullshit. Hold on. I'm going to link a video. It's really funny. It's like, what's the name of this guy? He's like one of the biggest.
Pat something?
Kenneth Copeland.
It's Kenneth Copeland.
Olstein's a big one, I know.
So
Joel.
You remember Joel was the guy that didn't open his church for like the flood victims or whatever? And got all those
Oh
memes?
my god,
Yeah.
he got
And he was like-
annihilated
He
on
got
social
fucking
media.
destroyed, dude. He was like, what did he say? He was like, oh yeah,
It was like under renovation
under
or something. Didn't he
construction or
say?
something?
Yeah, it was something really dumb. But I think he opened it eventually because he had to.
Oh well, at that point he was already blown the fuck out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I want to see this video.
You want me to link it to, or are you just gonna listen on stream?
Oh, are you gonna play it? Hang on.
Yeah, put it on stream. Put the video on stream.
But no, I don't want to just like watch them talk. That's weird. Plus, I'm playing Path of Exile, so fuck that. All right, you can look at my pretty face.
Wait, what are we doing?
I'm starting the video.
But first, before I read the scripture, Amos chapter 6. Brother Copeland, I was flying home from a meeting, and I had come out of a glorious meeting. I had just finished, me and Creflo Dollar were preaching. Had a glorious meeting. So I was, for lack of a better way to say it, I was spiritually high. I said, people were saved, touched, and blessed. Got in the plane that God so graciously gave us. We're flying home. As I was going home, the Lord, real quickly, he said, Jesse, do you like your plane? Now, you know, I thought that's an odd statement. I said, well, certainly, Lord. He said, do you really like it? And I thought, well, yes, Lord. Then he said this, so that's it? I didn't know how to handle it for a minute. I went, what? He said, you're going to let your faith stagnate? And when he said that, that shocked me. I went, whoa, wait. I literally unbuckled my seatbelt, my plane. I stood up. My pilots looked around and said, do you need something? I said, no, I'm talking to God right now. And he went back to flying. I said, Lord, I don't think I was letting my faith stagnate. He said, so this is all I could ever do. I said, you're trying to tell me something. He said, go to the book of Amos. So if you're at the book of Amos, I want to read the scripture.
May I interrupt you there
yes,
for
sir.
a second? You couldn't have done that on an airliner.
No, sir. No way.
Stand up and say, what'd you say, Lord?
No.
Okay, no, yeah. And the guy sitting over there saying, what the hell does he think he's doing? You can't do that.
You can't do that.
No. This is so important. And those of you that are just now coming into these things, in the first place, Jesse and I and others, Keith Moore and Creflo and all of us, the world is in such a shape, we can't get there without this.
That's right.
We've got to have this. We would have, the mess that the airlines are in today, I would have to stop. I'm being very conservative. At least 75 to 80, more like 90% of what we're doing, because you can't get there from here.
It's impossible.
So and this was such a good illustration. I just, the Lord impressed me. That's why we're on that airplane. We can talk to God.
Glory to God. It's true.
It's when I was flying for Oral Roberts, the Brother Deweese, my boss on the airplane, he said, now Kenneth, this is sanctuary. It protects the anointing on Brother Roberts. And he said, you keep your mouth shut. Don't talk to him unless he talks. Because when he's on a meeting, he doesn't talk to anybody but God. Now, Oral used to fly airlines.
Right.
But even back there then, man, it got to the place where it was agitating his spirit, people coming up to him. He had become famous, and they wanting him to pray for him and all that. You can't manage that today.
Right.
This dope-filled world.
Right.
And get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Right. That's exactly the
And
truth.
it's deadly.
And
Is it paused yet on your stream?
Yeah.
Him saying this is so mind-blowing to me, because it is like, sometimes when I listen to some people talk, have you ever watched a movie that's too preachy? Like, it strawmans the other side so hard that it looks ridiculous?
Sure.
That's what it feels like when I listen to them. Like, when I listen to a conversation like this, it sounds like an atheist made a video to try to show religious people being as hypocritical as possible, but they went too far. Like, he's literally describing the life of Jesus, right? Going into the poorest parts of every city that he went into, specifically saying fuck off to the wealthy people, and going to the sick, going to the hungriest, sitting there and having every single person come up to them and praying for them and curing leprosy and working with the most diseased people. Like, this is literally verbatim, like without interpretation, like the life of Jesus and across all 4 gospels. And the idea that they would just say something that is in such stark contrast to that is so absolutely mind-blowing to me. Like, holy shit. Jesus fuck, you know?
Yeah. These guys are literally batshit insane. Like, the mega church thing is fucking real. The crazy part is how many people in the South, like, subscribe to this shit.
Yep.
Have you
seen...
don't become billionaires for nothing.
Yeah.
Do you think they know what they're doing?
Of course.
I don't know. I used to be like what Dan is saying, like, well, of course, but like, I've read like there was an AMA that some ex-Fox News journalist gave a while ago on Reddit, and they said that when they were at Fox, pretty much everybody believed pretty heartily in the message they were selling. And actually, I think that's true. When I listen to people like Glenn Beck or Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity, I think these people genuinely believe in what they're selling. I don't think it's a big lie. I think they really do believe in what they're saying.
Yeah, like you remember how like charged that Bill O'Reilly would get when he was arguing with like Jon Stewart about stuff. It's like really clear that they both believe that platform. Like I don't think you can fake it at that level.
Maybe, yeah. Although O'Reilly has been on other things where he speaks and I'm like, oh, you're not fucking crazy. But then on some things, yeah, O'Reilly is insane. But like people like Hannity are definitely like, these are ideologues that 100% buy into everything they're saying, or like Rush Limbaugh and shit like that, guaranteed.
Yeah.
O'Reilly's done now, right?
I think he's got a podcast now, doesn't he?
Did he go down? For like that? Didn't he have some sexual harassment stuff that got?
He had another sexual harassment thing, and Fox News didn't want to come out to bat for him this time. So, yeah.
So that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did they drop the show, or did he, like,
they
resign?
dropped him. They dropped him.
Wow.
Yep. Which is pretty big because he's been on that platform for a long fucking time.
And he was one of their carrier shows, right?
Probably, yeah. The O'Reilly Factor, yeah. The no spin zone.
The no spin zone.
The
no spin zone, my dude. Oh no.
Yeah, the South, man. The South is a crazy place. Have you ever been, Destiny, like spent any serious time in any of like those states?
Yeah, have you heard my story? The when I got to experience some real racism, it like caught me by surprise. It caught me by surprise. I wasn't even ready for it. There was some tournament that was going on in Louisiana, and I went to stay with a family with a bunch of other people, and this family was very well off, okay? Like, these people owned, like, multiple businesses and shit. And we were having lunch, not lunch, we were having dinner. The food was amazing. Holy shit. This is, like, real Southern, like, fried fucking everything. And some crazy shit, too. Like, I think, like, toad's legs or, like, gizzard legs or something. I don't remember. Like, lots of crazy shit. But it was all really fucking good. Most Southern food is. But this lady, we're on the couch in the room, and I'm kind of talking to her. I'm a little bit more serious. I tend to talk to like about non-gamer shit when I'm traveling. So for whatever reason, you know, we were having like a more serious conversation, and out of nowhere, she says something that hits me the wrong way. She starts talking about how badly the floods impacted them in their business, and she made some offhanded comment where she was like, but even though the floods impacted us a lot, you know, we actually, you know, picked up and we tried real hard and we fixed our stuff. You know, we're not like those lazy people in Katrina. And when she said that, it like the way that she said it, just like
red flag.
It wasn't horrible in itself, but it like made me think for a second. And I was like, and I stopped for a second. I was like, yeah. I was like, well, what do you mean by that? Like the people in Katrina, like what exactly are you talking about? And she's like, oh, well, you know, all those thug people in Katrina that wouldn't move for the flood and are crying about FEMA and aid. And she started going off, and I was like, holy shit, this lady fucking hates black people. like legit. And it was like, actually it's funny because as soon as she started talking, I remembered that fucking Chappelle skit where Chappelle talks about how like racism is like whatever, you know, in other parts of the country, but when you're walking down the street like in a southern place, you know, like people just like, it's that good southern racism where it's just like palpable in the air, you feel it. Holy shit. But yeah, I like couldn't respond. I was like yeah, sure. Like after she like this lady whose family owns multiple fucking like businesses is talking about how hard her family worked to pull themselves up after the flood, is like being hypercritical of all these Katrina people that didn't just move, I guess. Like, oh shit.
That was a fucking shit show, dude, Katrina. Holy
yeah, for a variety of reasons, yeah.
Oh my god. I'm glad I wasn't in the Coast Guard then. Got out right before that.
Did the Coast Guard have to respond to stuff there?
Yeah, dude, that was fucking... Oh, the timing, my guy. Getting out before that shit. I left Louisiana the day before Katrina. My wife insisted, so we just drove straight to LA and we moved there.
Wait, really? That's crazy.
Yeah. I didn't know a single person there either. We just kind of, where do we want to live? And we went there. But yeah, dude, I remember the craziest thing was watching on the TV, like some dude with a street sign breaking into my building. It was just like, it's such a surreal experience to see someone like on national television essentially breaking into your house. That's fucking crazy.
That's insane.
That seems so exciting, dude. That sounds fucked up to say, but to live in like a disaster war zone
Oh,
like that,
no.
and to literally go like full fucking post-apocalyptic shit sounds like it would be an experience, dude.
Steven, you only have
yeah.
a handgun, man.
I've got my Mosa. What do you mean? I got a rifle. I don't have a scope for it
really?
though. But I mean, I would
I
get
didn't know
more
that.
in that situation. I would want like an AR-15, of course. Something.
You would, yeah.
Do you think in an end of the world situation, do you think having an AR-15 in America, an AR-15 would be better than an AK-47?
Yeah, for sure. I think.
Really?
5.56
I think,
rounds
yeah,
are
'cause it's
considered
5.56
ballistically
is-
more lethal than the 7.62 rounds. They're also probably NATO rounds are more plentiful, I think, than the 7.62 rounds in the U.S.
That's the only advantage I think I can find is I believe that there's going to be more 5.56 available in the United States, but the 7.62 round is going to have way more penetration than
Well, yeah, but you don't want
the,
penetration. You
5.56.
don't want penetration. You
Well,
want to kill
out in the
people.
fucking apocalypse, I think
No,
I
you
want
want to kill
penetration.
people. 5.56 rounds are lethal because they tumble like a motherfucker. The exit wounds on those rounds are fucking massive in human
savage,
bodies.
yeah.
It's insane. Whereas I think the AK-47 rounds just have a higher tendency to overpenetrate. I don't think they tumble like the 5.56 rounds do. I could be wrong on
I mean,
that.
they're a good amount bigger. Like, I think they're probably 30% larger round, aren't they? The 7.62.
I think they're quite a
39s?
bit larger than 5.56 rounds. Yeah, but yeah, I guess like at the end of the day, you'd want something really reliable. AK-47s are probably super reliable, but I think the AR-15 platform is pretty reliable as well, right? I mean, as long as you don't have like some crazy weird shit on your gun.
Is it? I wonder if that is that much more reliable.
It is.
Reliability
Yeah,
is pretty important, and like people do like range reports and shit on guns and shit. This is why I like Glocks so much, because Glocks are like fucking so stupidly reliable. They can get dirty, they can get wet, they can muddy them up and shit, and they'll like work. You can never fucking clean it and put like another 10,000 rounds through it. Like it's insane.
Do you carry one in the chamber? Or, I mean, I guess you probably don't.
When I
carry,
do,
but if
yeah,
you did,
absolutely, always.
I could never get past that with a Glock. Like, dare I say, like having no safety and no.
You have a
It's
safety.
only single action only. Or
The safety is
that's
your
not
finger.
a safety. Yeah, I hate that meme. I hate that.
It's a
meme. I
great
can never get
meme.
past it.
I love
no.
that meme. If
Yeah, but it's
somebody
like
can
if you-
accidentally access your trigger and pull it, they could do the exact same fucking thing with the safety. Gun safety is making sure that you are keeping that trigger out of reach of anybody that should be activating it at any point in time. Gun safety is not relying on some built-in mechanism to keep somebody from accidentally pulling the trigger on your gun.
It's not about accidentally pulling the trigger. It's about like when you go to holster it, like getting a little bit of like a wad of your pants or something like that caught in the trigger assembly and having it go off, which wouldn't happen with another.
No,
weapon.
good holsters will always have covers. Even like mine is like really basic leather. We'll always have like good covers that like block the trigger and everything. There's no way that anything should ever malfunction or fuck up when
You
you're
can't imagine
holstering.
possibly trying to holster this weapon in a panic state and possibly getting the trigger assembly caught on like an edge of the holster or on your belt or something.
Well, you're not holstering in a panic state. You're drawing. By the time
Well,
you're
I
holstering
don't
it, you're
fucking
either
know.
dead or you're done.
It's possible. All right, listen, Destiny. I'm curious. This is a
Well, like
subject
if you want to weigh possibilities, then then you have to weigh every possibility, right? So the reason why safeties are generally considered bad are for two main reasons. One, a safety can fail, which is whatever, you know. I mean, that's not maybe the highest priority, but you don't want another point of failure in a gun. But the second big reason is because in one of these high risk situations, the chances of you being able to process like super complicated thought or whatever is going to go down farther and farther and farther. So you want to put as few barriers between you and your gun as quickly as possible. If you draw a gun and you also have to disengage the safety, if you forget to do that when you draw or if you fuck up, like that could be your life, right? You want to be able to draw your gun, point it at somebody and fire. Like the most basic parts of activating a firearm. You don't want to have to deal with the safety on top of that.
No, I can get that, but I mean, at least I have a USP, and that's a pretty natural. Like once you put it in your hand, like you just the safety comes off essentially right away. Or even 1911s have the second safety built into the back of the grip, where you have to hold it like
I
that.
don't like those. Those are scary as well. If you're injured or you're too nervous or you grip it a little bit improperly, some of those can actually be pretty hard to activate. You also run into issues firing. Well, aside from the fact that it's 45s, I don't think any 1911 can fire limp wristed, right? Because it always fucks it up.
They're heavy. They're heavy.
Sure.
Like a 1911. I mean,
Yeah,
not all
well,
of
yeah,
them, but
compared to like a polycarbon Glock, the full, what are they made out of, steel or whatever? 1911s are always going to
Yeah.
be pretty heavy. But like, I don't like firing. If you only have one hand available to fire a 1911, are you able to do that with the grip? I don't know. I
Yeah.
personally, I know that you guys in chat might have very different opinions on this. I personally don't like grip safeties. Like, I have been at a range firing with handguns that have the grip safeties, and I've had it not fire correctly. Maybe if I've trained with more, maybe I would be more comfortable. But again, it's just another thing between me.
Nice chat
and,
the other day, bro. Saying hi again.
Thanks. It's just another thing between me and activating my firearm. Like, the idea that I could pull it and maybe grip it a little bit improperly, and now my safety is not activated, that would be something scary to me in a high risk situation, I guess.
Are you a big 9mm guy, or what do you think of
Always.
40 or 45?
40 and 45 are garbage for carrying. They're fine
Really?
for the range, but yeah. The ballistic reports on 9mm show it as being just as lethal as any 40 or 45, and your magazine capacity
Really?
increases dramatically. Yep.
A 40's magazine cap's not going to be that different than a 9. It's
No, but
almost
who the
same
fuck buys a
size.
40? How many guns? Is 40 really that common? A caliber?
40 is pretty fucking common.
It
I
might
think
be, but
every
fucking
brand
9
has a
millimeter
40.
is fine. Okay, are there actually 17 round 40 magazines?
I'm not sure.
Literally
And then
nobody
the other-
uses 10 millimeter. Fuck off, okay? Unless you're like the fucking Secret Service or some shit. Nobody fires that. 9 millimeter is good because one, the ammo is cheap, meaning you can practice with it more, which is really the most important thing, right?
Right.
45 is I think, isn't it like 1.5 times as expensive as 9 millimeter, or maybe even more so per round?
Yeah, but you're shooting cannonballs at people.
But you're not really. Like, ballistically, I just don't. And I mean, this is another thing we can put on our study sheet. Ballistically, I don't think 45 is more damaging to a person than 9 millimeter is. I've never seen ballistic reports that make, and I've
Really?
seen it
I
time
thought-
and time again. 9 millimeter proves to be just as lethal.
What was that meme about the FBI switching from 9mm to 40 then? After that, maybe after that bank heist or something like that happened?
Oh, what
Is
that
that
heat
still
was
the
based
case?
off of, or whatever, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think 40 is going to have that much more success against armor.
It's got a lot more pressure inside the.
Are you saying that like
the
the velocity of the round is a lot faster, or?
I believe so, and I know for sure they have.
I would rather have a rifle. I don't think I would like if I'm dealing with people where 9 millimeter is not cutting it. I'm not gonna step up to fucking 40 or 45. I'm bringing out a fucking rifle because then because the velocity of the rifle shots is like 3 times as much, right? Aren't like
Yeah.
AR-15? We're talking like 1,500 feet per second or whatever for the.
Yeah, but I think 9mm breaks over 1,000, doesn't it, or like 900? Am I wrong?
Oh wait,
Hold on,
more
let
than
me-
that.
Let me Google this.
No, 9 millimeter is 1,200 feet per
1250.
second, and then rifle muzzle velocity can be like 2,000 plus, up to 2,700 maybe feet per second.
What is 40?
Who the fuck cares? I'm sorry. Someone in YouTube chat. Sorry if you address this, but aren't the vast majority of injuries / deaths with guns from accidents and not from confronting some baddie? So wouldn't you weigh that in for the safety? Yeah, depending on how you treat your gun, for sure. In the United States, just the virtue of just owning a gun increases your chances of being killed by one just by purchasing a firearm, because the number of deaths that occur from accidents related to firearms is huge in the U.S. I think most people in the U.S. are too stupid to own guns. That would be the only reason I would support legislation getting rid of them.
Let me. I'm curious. What do you have as far as, dare I say, like survival stuff? Like if a big natural disaster blew through fucking Omaha today.
Yeah, I've
what
got
do you
my
have to set yourself
Mosin.
up?
I've got my Mosin, and then I've got my Glock 17.
What about like food and water and supplies and communication and all
I've
that
got my
stuff, dude?
Mosin and my Glock 17, and I would take those to my neighbor's house.
And take their food.
Yep.
Okay.
That's why I laugh at the guys that talk about gold or whatever. In a post-apocalyptic scenario, you want like medicine, food, and like ammunition and shit. Because if you can have all the gold in the world, but if I got the guns, I'm coming to take your shit, boy.
Listen, I'm big into survivalist shit, so I have all of that shit so that I'm good to go. Unfortunately, I'm in Florida, but I believe pretty heavily in that. If you have, I mean, because if you think about it this way, if you spend $1,000, it's pretty much like, let's say it's not a Mad Max situation, and let's say instead it's like a 1918 flu, which is extremely viral, and you can't leave your house. Like the difference between you being able to survive in your place for 90 to 120 days and not is serious, because you don't want to have to like go out and try to fucking raid the Publix or something. You want to be able to like hold the fuck up and have everything that you need there. So that's
especially since a flu is like the most likely outcome. Like it's not likely that we descend into total anarchy. It's more like we get like a fucking The Division situation where like there's actually an epidemic and we're locked in our houses.
Yeah, so like, and the cost of having enough food to survive for 3 to 4 months is not that much, and the medicine that you would need to have, antibiotics, shit like that, so you don't necessarily have to go to a hospital. Like these things are cheap to have, and then it's the difference potentially of your family. It's like insurance that you can buy one time and be good to go, because the food lasts 30 years now.
Yeah, because now they're non-perishable foods and shit.
Yeah.
Do you mean like the space stuff, like the
No,
stuff, like
well,
the,
yeah,
what
it's
kind of food do you
freeze-dried.
have
It's
that-
freeze-dried, but like
Okay.
Mountain House and
like the stuff you get at REI
basi-
and stuff?
No, not like that. It doesn't come in pouches. It comes in like giant Folgers cans or 5-gallon buckets. Like for instance, I have a few 5-gallon buckets filled with rice and beans that last 30 years, and it's
Wow.
all like airtight and all that stuff. These like one of those 5-gallon buckets filled with rice and beans, like that's depending on how many people. Let's just say yourself, like that's a month of you surviving for $40, right? And obviously this is very unlikely to happen, but why is that not something that more people see the need to do?
I think that in the U.S., it's and most of the Western world, it's unfathomable that you're going to be cut off from access from food and water. That would be the honest answer, which is actually super fascinating to think about. One of the coolest quotes I think is that every single country is only one day's food worth away from like a revolution. That if for some reason food transportation were to be cut off from like any area, it would take literally like 24 to 48 hours for like actual like violent revolt to start occurring, because people would like starvation will do that to people. And
That's
it
the
can happen
case with
incredibly
Los
quickly.
Angeles, right?
Actually, that's really interesting thing to think about for sure.
It's definitely true. Yeah,
Wait,
that's
what do you
the
mean
case
happened
with
to Los Angeles? What happened there? Like earthquakes?
No,
or
no,
something,
I'm
or?
saying that there's been a lot of like research that's shown that like that all the natural food and water supplies, if there was no exports coming in, would run out from Los Angeles in like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is America a net food exporter or importer?
Oh, it's got to be exported. We've got so much fucking land in this country.
It's so much land.
It's
yeah,
got to be
so much
exported.
agriculture.
We pay farmers like not to farm. Like that's part
So
of the.
essentially, we could be sufficient on our own.
I'm pretty sure
basically.
America I could be wrong, but I think America makes enough food to feed the entire world. Like it's just a transfer. This is one of the huge criticisms levied at capitalism is that America. Oh fuck, I might be butchering this. If I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. But I'm pretty sure America makes enough food to feed the entire world. So people that are like socialists or whatever will point to the fact that like, well, look, in capitalism, there's not a profit incentive to literally save the life of billions of people. So how can you tell me that your economic system is functioning well?
I went through one of those debates today.
Yeah. So like this is one of those things where this is another like I think that you could make a strong counter argument where people will say things like sometimes when you argue capitalism or socialism, a capitalist like me or whatever will say something like, oh well, Mao and all these other Chinese people and all this shit like communism killed 100 million people, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, well under your currently existing capitalist system, you could be feeding how many people and you're not, and they're dying. Why don't those count as deaths under capitalism, right? And I think there's some validity to that argument.
Please don't be a socialist.
No, I won't.
Okay.
From what I've read, we have the capacity to feed 800 million people with the land available. Okay, it might be closer to that, maybe. Or maybe I'm thinking we can only feed, like, all of, like, the starving people in Africa. We couldn't actually feed the entire world.
That feels really low, really, with, like, all the land that we have.
Yeah, we
like,
have a
can only
lot of land. Also, a lot of our food doesn't even go to us. A lot of it goes to fucking meat, you know? Like, if we didn't eat meat or if we significantly curbed our meat consumption, there's a lot of calories that go into producing a single calorie of, like, cow food. You know, if we would have just eat like that as corn and shit and eat less meat, that's a lot more food available to us as well.
Yeah, that's true. Like, we put an enormous amount of stuff just because we want like the top quality stuff. Like, if we actually made our land efficient for like, I guess like food and crops and stuff, it'd be much more effective, right? And then also there's that. Is there any like advancement on that vertical skyscraping like gardening? Have you heard about that?
That's a fucking meme. It has to be a meme. How could that be cost efficient?
Wait,
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
A skyscraper farm.
Yeah, it's like supposed to be legit. I don't know what I'm talking
This makes me
about.
want to play Minecraft a lot when you say that. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't think I know enough about what I'm talking about. Maybe someone does. I haven't looked at chat in a while.
In the wild,
I'm familiar with
pandas
like I
actually
think in
fuck and
China,
produce
they have
offspring at
lettuce
relatively
farms that
normal
are
rates
built-in
among bear
warehouses that are multiple
species.
stories tall, and they're all
The
automated
actual
by
reasons for
robots
their
going and
joyful
doing
are
all that shit.
mainly
Like, that's
poachers and
interesting.
habitat loss.
I also don't know if that's even cost effective at that point. Like, you got to be honest, it's so fucking cheap if you just have the field to like just plant shit there. Like, it's hard to get cheaper than pretty much doing nothing.
Yeah, I think so there's a facility in Reno that is, man, I'm gonna fuck this up, but it's like an aquatic farm, and what it does is it's supposedly like self-sustaining pretty much, where there's fish, and the fish provide fertilizer to the plants on the top, and the like it's some kind of like self-regulating system. Am I memeing right now? Like, is this a thing?
I don't know.
Aquaponics people are saying, or whatever it is. It's like an aqua farm.
Yeah, I just don't think there's enough shekels in it to really make it effective, unfortunately.
Yeah, not right
but
now.
It might change in the future as we get more and more people.
Yeah.
Where is our population supposed to be in 50 years?
I'm pretty sure we're supposed to cap out at like, it's less than 13 billion. I think by 2050, I thought the estimate was 9 billion, but then the Earth's population should never get past 13, I think.
And like Africa is going to have like a majority of that, I believe, right?
Maybe, yeah, but Africa's population has been sloping off and should continue to slope off the same way that the rest of the industrialized world did. So the 13th billion person is never supposed to be born.
Really? That's interesting.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, because when we were growing up in the 90s, we were fed that overpopulation, exponential population growth was going to destroy the world. But if you go right now and you start Googling birth rates of every Western country, almost every single Western country has a negative birth rate right now.
And that's because, does education or quality of life get to the point where like people have less kids? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you don't want to have kids for a variety of reasons. Feminism,
Yeah.
Women working careers. You don't want to throw away the best years of your life raising a fucking kid. Like that's a horrible thing to do to a career. When people become wealthier, you just don't need to have 50 million kids. It's not like you need to put them to work or do anything like that. Child mortality rates have improved, so you don't need to have 6 kids so that 4 survive. You know, like if you have 1 or 2 kids, you can be reasonably certain they're going to make it to adulthood. There's a lot of reasons why people speculate why people have less children, but basically as countries become more industrialized, like every single country in the Western world has a negative birth rate right now. Well, like 99% of them do. There are a couple exceptions. Like I think Israel, is still positive, but like for the most part, like if you look up like
they take kids seriously over
Germany birth rate, I'm pretty sure it's like 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 births per woman in Germany. In America, it's 1.8. France is at 2.01. Good job, buddies.
Well, do we have any use cases of it actually going down to 1-to-1?
Well, no.
Like,
One
Well,
point.
you have to be below 2-to-1, and then you're
Yes,
fucked.
because it's births per woman, right? Men can't have children.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
so
Okay,
you need 2 births per woman, or maybe you need slightly less than 2 births if there's more women than men. But like it's like 1.9 whatever births, 1.9 something births per woman in order to be at replacement. And so most Western countries are below replacement.
Are there any that are actually in danger of?
Japan has a huge problem with this. Right now, we don't talk about it, but right now, the thing that actually saves a lot of our labor populations, this is very true in Europe, especially in countries like Germany, and especially in the United States, is our immigrant population is actually what's been replacing a lot of the lower class kind of workers. We get immigrants to do it because we don't have enough children to do it. And the children that natives do have don't typically want those jobs anyway. They work higher quality jobs. This is why like workers from Eastern Europe or other types of immigrants are so important to the economies of a lot of Western European countries.
In Japan, you can't get citizenship, correct? It's not possible, basically? It's one of those places?
It might be. Japan is one of the countries that has the most trouble with this at the moment because the average age of their population is getting higher and higher, and they are probably one of the most racist countries in the world. They are not very fond of immigrants, so Japan actually has a huge problem right now with replacing their population.
People are saying you can become a Japanese citizen, but I'm not sure that's actually true. I mean, obviously there's some small ways, but like for instance, I don't even think if you marry a Japanese citizen that you can become, you can get citizenship.
I'm not sure. You might need to denounce your current citizenship or something. I'm not sure. Destiny, tell Devin to Google vertical farming and hydroponic farming. I don't know why, but there you go.
Okay, it's possible to become a Japanese citizen, but you need to have a crazy high income and have expert fluency. And it takes 10 years.
Damn.
That'll be the new Trump plan, I guess.
Destiny is just flat out wrong about populations having a negative birth rate. Look it up. Sure, which birth rates would you like to look up, buddy?
Israel.
So Israel is one that has a positive one. I think that might even be like 3.0. So like Israel birth rate.
I heard Poland's 1-to-1.
Yeah,
right?
Israel birth rate is 3.09. But if we look up the United States is 1.8. Iran is less than 1.7. United Kingdom birth rate is 1.81. France is at replacement at 2.0. What other Western Europe? Germany birth rate. Germany's is at 1.5. That's very low.
What's Japan's?
Hold on.
Poland's?
Denmark is at 1.69. Norway's at 1.75. Sweden is at 1.88. Poland is at 1.32.
Yeah, that's what
Hungary is at 1.44. Russia's at 1.75. Japan's is really bad. Japan's is at 1.46. South Korea is at 1.24. China's at 1.57, although I don't know how much of that is artificial at the moment because of their government policy. But anyway, I'm sorry. Wait, so what was the person in YouTube chat saying that I was wrong. Just look it up. Or
What is the lowest country?
I'm not sure. Lowest
Poland
birth
seems to be
rate
really low,
country in the world.
I wonder if the highest is going to be an Asian country or a Muslim country. I don't think that.
So the highest is Japan, or the lowest is Japan, Italy, Monaco, and Hong Kong.
Mm.
Why do they have Hong Kong? Isn't that just part of China?
Oh.
Sorry, that's my Trump
We were-
rhetoric speaking. Followed by San Marino, Portugal, Greece, South Korea, Liechtenstein, Croatia, Puerto Rico, Spain, Germany. Yeah,
I got one of those rare Polish girls, man.
yeah, there you go, dude.
They're
Well,
gonna
you don't,
become
but it's not rare because you guys haven't had kids yet, so you're actually.
And we're not
playing
gonna
it.
have kids.
Then
Yeah.
it's not rare at all. You found another Polish person. It's not having kids. You're destroying the
Oh,
Polish
shit.
people, contributing to their destructions. Good job.
Thanks, dude. Rip.
One-child policy in China ended in 2015. Oh, I was not aware of that. Cool.
Neat.
He says you claimed negative birth rates. That would be a negative birth rate. Is less than replacement is considered a negative birth rate, or does he mean like more people are dying than being born? Well, that actually might be true too. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's actually true because people are getting older and older. Isn't less than 2.0 considered a negative birth rate, not replacement? I mean, you can't have like a negative birth rate, like you're unbirthing people, like stuffing children back into vaginas. Like, I don't know what that. No, those were percentages of increase. What I just looked up, no, it's not. What are you talking about? Stop! Don't. I'm not done. I'm done with this. Never mind. This is a massive problem. It's been talked about a ton for a lot of other people. I don't need a random shitter on YouTube is not going to tell me that this is completely fake. Like, fuck off.
Just make sure when you're in your Japan, you do your part to increase the birth rate.
Sure. I hate Asian women. Wow, that was really racist.
Whoa!
That's not what I meant.
In GTA 5.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. I don't like the type of Asian women that seek out white men, white foreigners that are traveling to their country. I already kind of sort of experienced that in South Korea. I don't think it would be any better in Japan.
Really, dude? I didn't. Well, I was in South Korea for 2.5 months, and I didn't think everybody just ignored me. You must have like.
Did you
the
ever go to
fucking
any clubs or anything, or?
Not really, no.
Oh, well then.
Wait, they ignored you?
They're not gonna like walk up to you on the street. You gotta like go out drinking, go to clubs and shit.
What I want to like be in an Asian country and just like immediately get swarmed like the next
Also,
commercial.
Try
Also,
Tinder.
either
Try
way.
hitting up Tinder in those countries too. As a white guy, dude, you get so many fucking matches. That shit is insane.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't need to speak the language either. Don't worry.
Nope, they'll lie to you too. They'll say shit like, "Oh yeah, I speak English," and then when you meet them, they fucking barely speak English. It's fuck, dude. Yeah.
It'll be good times. I can't wait.
I guess I've been in a long-term relationship every time that I've traveled, so I've known these memes. But
Oh, sure.
Well, that's what boys trips are for, Devin, to really let you know if this is the one for you or not.
I already know she is.
But do you really know?
I do.
Birth rate does not equal growth rate. Yeah, sure, but we're not talking about growth rates. I've always said negative birth rate. I'm not saying populations are shrinking. I don't know if that's actually true in any. I think that actually might be true in Japan, actually, though, because they don't allow immigrants. We can look it up, though. But generally, populations aren't shrinking largely because of immigration. So in Japan, Japan's population actually has been shrinking for it looks like about the past 2 decades. In the United States, I think we have enough immigrants that our population is not shrinking. Nope, our population is still increasing. Russia's population is shrinking. The UK's population is growing very, very slowly. Germany takes in a decent amount of immigrants. I don't think their population is shrinking. Even their population is pretty flatlined. Australia's population has grown quite a bit. I wonder what their birth rates are, right? Australia's population grows. Australian birth rate. 1.8. Theirs is low as well, so that must be immigration as well. Immigration and longevity. Or like, not longevity, like lifespan increasing or whatever. %33% of Japanese are aged over 60 as of 2014. Damn.
That's crazy. All right, my dudes, I gotta roll. It was
All right.
nice talking with both of you.
Yeah, you too, man.
Germany
Goodbye, Twitch
isn't.
Chat.
We'll
Goodbye,
chat.
buddy.
We'll chat some more about our memes offline or something, or maybe later tonight.
Yeah, don't tell Destiny
not
about
dead?
them though. He's not allowed to know.
Sure.
He'll spoil it.
Are you out for the day, or are you going to come back
No,
later?
no, I'll be back later. I gotta go swimming.
Oh, sounds good, man. Have fun.
Germany isn't shrinking. That's old data. It's literally from 2016. What do you mean? Russia's population is actually increasing. Yeah, Russia's looked like it was increasing a little bit from 2008 over the last decade, but barely. And it also slumped from, I guess, like it peaked in like 92. But anyway, this is just it's an interesting philosophy debate going forward in the future. But this is a way off our debate. But it's the idea of like, what do the impacts of feminism have on our culture, and do we actually need to enslave women to create children in order to further the existence of the human race? That's like
Is that actually a possibility?
Yes, but it's so far off, and we can't even agree right now that women deserve to be treated as people in a lot of countries. So, and I include like the U.S. of that. So that's like a conversation that's way fucking far away.
Yeah, that's. How is that actually going to be a conversation? That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, like, just think about it. Like, if you were a man, when would you in your life have decided to put aside like 2 or 3 years of your career to just do fucking? Yeah, you would never. Yeah. Not even for a microsecond. Maybe in your 30s. But in your 20s, fuck no.
No way.
If you're ambitious and you're trying to get shit done in your life, you're never giving up any part of your 20s to sit back and have kids. So now you're restricted to your 30s, and depending on how ambitious you were in your 20s, you might not even have a relationship that you think is worth like having kids in. So like there's a whole lot of there's just like the liberation of women is like a really interesting kind of thing where it's like, fuck, we don't really have kids anymore because we don't want to have kids, but like you can't like tell women to have kids because like you wouldn't do it, you know? I wouldn't do it.
What's the potential of escaping that conversation through like a voluntary I don't know, I guess that wouldn't be
like having like farms of like women that just make
No. Yeah, you'd have to have I was thinking of some like crazy meme where we like grow babies in bags and stuff, but I guess we're not there.
Yeah, we're pretty far from that. And even if we did get there, you would have to make the argument like morally. I don't think most people would be comfortable with that, you know?
You don't think so? You'd have to like, if it was between that and enslaving women in farms to like have babies, like.
I don't know. I'm not sure. The thing is that like this problem would present itself so gradually that like when would you do it? Like your population would go 300 million, and then maybe in 50 years, maybe we're at like 280 million, and then we're at like 220 million. Like at what point? Like you still have millions and millions and like we're talking. I shouldn't even bring this up because we're probably like hundreds of years off from having actual problems where it's like we don't have enough people. Yeah. Well, like. Fuck. The weird thing is that here's another fundamental critique of capitalism. Whew, we're on our way to socialism, boys. One thing that people don't know, I'm pretty sure like even professional economists don't know this, is can capitalism exist if the economy isn't constantly growing? And you know this from your business and trading memes, right? That sideways,
and just this concept in general. Yeah.
Sideways movement is considered bad. You don't want an economy that is not growing. There isn't a term for not growing economy. It's called stagnating, right? You don't ever want to not grow. If you're not growing, you're dying. And this is like this might be like a fundamental concept that capitalism actually relies on for economies to function. So if we start having a decreasing population, for GDP to grow and population to decrease, it needs massive gains in like productivity and shit, which might not be possible to sustain. So yeah, I don't know. That's like, it's a really weird thing. If the economic idea of capitalism doesn't actually work, if populations start to shrink.
So presumably the theory is that is offset by technological progress, right? So the idea is that we can progress and grow our exponentially because technology is a much better
means of increasing our production than just having more people.
Than human resources, which is inherently limited.
Yeah, but then
that's been the case. Like all of our tech.
Kind of.
No, like absolutely. Like our entire economy's growth has been based off of technological progress.
But
lately.
Here's another big capitalism problem. Okay. As capital becomes more and more productive, which it has, the people that own that capital become more and more wealthy, disproportionate to the worker, right?
Yeah.
So we're running into, hold on, I got 7 paragraphs of donation.
Hey,
One
buddy,
sec.
an interactive link about house birth rates, immigration, and pop growth.
Oh, never mind. It was just a big link. I can't click your links. I'm sorry, because I'm on Streamlabs. So link it in a chat or whatever, and I can click it. One of the big problems that we have right now is that owning capital lets you be more and more productive, whereas the workers themselves aren't necessarily compensated for that productivity. So like an example I'll use is like maybe before you would need like 1,000 people to put together a car. Now you just need like 4 engineers to run a factory. Right? But those 4 engineers aren't getting paid 1,000 times more by owning that factory, right?
They're getting paid the same. And then there's a bunch of other people out of the job that used to work there,
Yeah. So the issue that you run into is that people that own factories or people that own capital are the ones that are making more and more and more money. So when you actually go back and you start to look at like the median wage shit, hold on, let me actually see if I can look this up. A big problem that we're having right now in society is that median real wages United States, that when you look at this, I think median wages in the US have stagnated like pretty hard in terms of like real oh shit, this is perfect. What a beautiful graph. Oh fuck, sorry, I'm on the camera scene.
Let me pull it.
Sorry, so like you can see like hourly compensation versus productivity. So we've seen like productivity grow and grow and grow and grow and grow in the US. However, the workers aren't the ones that are getting compensated for this. It's the people that own the businesses, right? So your real hourly compensation has more or less stagnated in the United States. Yes, it's gone up a little bit, but a lot of that is hitting because of its inflation, right? But in terms of real hourly compensation, meaning how much how much rent can you buy, how much food can you buy, things like the PPP and whatnot, that we're seeing massive problems here. And this is kind of where the 1% memes come from, where the richest people in society are getting really, really, really fucking rich. However, the workers aren't really seeing these massive gains in income.
Do the through enslavement.
Like the
you
capital
would create
owners are,
babies
right?
in artificial uteruses.
Yeah,
the
when you go
become
deep
wards
enough
of the
down this
state until
meme,
adulthood.
isn't the only solution
Don't
really
ask
like
me why I've
universal
thought
income?
about this.
I'm sorry, you said UBI?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not fully sold on it, but it seems to be like the only good idea I've heard to address these problems.
Same, yeah. Like as no matter how conservative you are, like whatever, like you can't deny this like inevitability. Yeah, it's like even like really conservative like Silicon Valley dudes, like Peter Diamandis and those dudes are like saying this.
Yeah,
like people. Yeah,
and I'm like and I'm really capitalist, and it sounds like a real bad incentive to me, but like it seems like the only direction for it. Like the
but
UBI,
what do you do? Yeah, like there's no way to The other thing, this is a big Jordan Peterson meme I'm wondering about, like that you think about. I've brought this up to you a little bit before, but Jordan Peterson thinks one of the largest problems in the United States is that over 10% of people in the country have an IQ of 85 or lower, meaning that they have some difficulty in like reading and understanding basic instructions or like being able to like contribute in a way to society. Another way to say this that would be like less what's the word? Controversial would be to say that there's a large number of people in the United States who cannot perform advanced
No,
jobs.
actually, I don't like to. We can stick with a controversial term. IQ is a term that is similar to BMI in that people really don't like it, but it is an incredibly powerful proxy for outcomes. And a lot of people will say things like, well, IQ, there's different types of intelligence, blah, blah. You can say whatever the fuck you want, but the reality is, and I learned this in all my research, my race realism debates, IQ might be the single most important predictor of how successful you'll be in life. Whether you like it or not, whether you think there are other types of intelligence or not, IQ is incredibly fucking important. Much the same way that BMI can be a massive predictor in health-related outcomes, whether you like it or not, whether you think you're just really muscular, blah, blah, blah. BMI as like an overall metric is an incredibly accurate proxy for a lot of different medical things as well, type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiac disease, all that shit. So what Peterson talks about,
glad you brought this up.
What Peterson talks about, that is a very real problem. Our society today, because as jobs become more and more educated, you need more and more training to do these jobs. People with low IQ, this is kind of the argument that Charles Murray makes without as much racism. People with a low IQ get left behind by society. They're fucked. If you have a really low IQ in a society that's becoming increasingly more educated, where lower forms of education are increasingly worthless, what the fuck do you do, right? We have no place for these people.
Exactly. Yeah. The question is like, what do we do with all of these people who are in the 85 to below range? And like, we have to accept that there has to be an answer to this, right? Like, you can't just have these people be unemployed and be on the streets. There has to be something you have to do about it. So like, how do you address these people? And that's where the idea of UBI comes in. And if it's holy crap, dude, if Dan was here, he'd be so tilted to hear me say this. But like, if it is true that the wealth is increasing at the top level vastly, right, beyond any reasonable means of
massive
their
gains.
ability to spend it.
It's like
then there is
85
some
to 90% of all the new wealth goes to like the top 1% of people. It's an insanely disproportionate right now.
It's like Pareto to like the craziest degree. Yeah. It's like, it's nuts. And so if that's the case, then first of all, I don't even think that we need to leverage the rich necessarily for this, because what we could potentially do it through government, like increases in efficiency, but that has never been the case where like government is able to like reorganize itself in a way where it doesn't spend, where it actually spends less money. So I think like if we were going to increase taxes for UBI, that would seem to me to be a pretty compelling argument based on like what we have, the problems we have before us.
Yeah, and that's why like I think that it's funny that we quibble over such little amounts of redistribution in the U.S. We need dramatic overhauls in what we're doing with the money that this country is making, like because we face issues that are just, to be quite frank, are just totally inexcusable. The fact that we don't have healthcare figured out, there's no excuse for how wealthy some people in this country are. I don't know if it was you or Rekful was talking about how like a fluctuation of a couple dollars in Amazon's net worth or an Amazon stock price will change the net worth of Bezos to be
$5 billion.
But to be the net worth of entire countries. Like it's insane that we can have that much wealth with some people, but if you're fucking retarded in the United States, you have like a twice as high chance of being fucking homeless. That should never happen. That is impossibly embarrassing. That is inconceivable in this country. Yeah, so we like, it's funny, we quibble over like, you know, we need to tax them, 3% more or some shit. And it's like, we need some pretty massive changes in the way that we distribute wealth in this country, because wealth inequality is a big problem in and of itself. Like something has to be done about it. And we haven't taken like good steps to doing it.
Historically, it gets done for us, and we've seen that.
Wait,
like
what?
When wealth disparity, if something isn't done at a is it institutional is the right word? Like at a governmental level.
Well, then revolution happens, right?
Yeah, then your wealth disparity gets to the point where it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, whether you like.
And then we have a real fucking shit show. So like we might as well address this problem first through like actual
policy.
means.
Yeah.
People are like, so a lot of people in chat are saying that this is a socialist argument. Would you agree with that?
It is, because what we're addressing right now are fundamental failures of capitalism. So, for instance, a socialist idea, or maybe I should more accurately say a Marxist idea, would be that any type of labor, any type of exchange that happens between a capital owner and a laborer is an abuse of the laborer. That you are selling your labor at necessarily an unfair price to the person that owns the capital, right? If I own a business and I employ you, the profit that I make is going to be the difference between what I pay you for your labor and what your labor is worth, right? So if I employ you at $10 an hour, it's because you're making me more money than that. And what's happened under capitalism, arguably, is that difference has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. That I hire a software engineer at $60,000 a year, but I'm actually making $500,000 a year off of that employee, right? And as productivity grows, it seems like that's probably what's happening.
So the vertical on what you make off that employee goes up, but the actual wages are relatively stagnant or only increasing at a nominal rate.
Yeah, which is the problem.
So doesn't socialism imply government-owned enterprise?
Oh God, I shouldn't be answering these questions, but socialism generally involves workers owning the means of production. So what that means is you don't have like a single capitalist guy that owns the business and does the investment or whatever, but that every worker at like a factory or whatever will have ownership in that factory, and that all the profits and all the proceeds and everything will go towards that. And then you'll have some kind of like governing board that makes decisions that everybody kind of votes on, I guess, like in a democratic socialist kind of way. I might butcher this explanation because I do not know a lot about socialism and capitalism, but that's the kind of like my understanding of it.
Okay,
wait, that might be what I'm describing. Might be full on communism. Sorry, go ahead.
Communism, yeah, I think so. Like socialism to me implies a sort of hybrid. In our current understanding of socialism, implies a hybrid between a capitalist system and a working system of government support. So, what I worry about in a socialist situation is that taxes or bureaucracy around free enterprise are so restricting or are controlled by other entities that it's impossible for or relatively impossible for an entrepreneur to come up in the world. So one of the things to
address this real quick, because in the U.S. we use socialized to mean socialized in the U.S. typically means the government is taking care of it, but that's not necessarily socialism. I don't think.
When we're talking UBI, this is most certainly a socialist concept. Right?
I don't think so. It's just, that's just like redistribution from the government. The idea that like
but that
everybody
money presumably is coming from people that are in the 1%.
Oh
so
God, I'm trying not to butcher this, but the idea that we take money from rich people and give it to poor people has nothing to do with socialism or communism. That's just a redistributive program by the government. Socialism specifically, because theoretically, now I don't think this would happen in theory, but theoretically, you could have a factory where the people on the board or in charge of more things make a lot more money than the lower workers. Like, a lot of people think that socialism means like everybody makes the same amount of money. That's not necessarily true. Like, the people that make most of the decisions could still make most of the money, and all the workers at the factory could be okay with that. You don't have to redistribute all of their earnings every day. Socialism, I don't think, makes the claim that every single person in society makes the same amount of money.
Okay. So the reason why I don't know for sure, so I'm not making like any standpoint, right? I'm really just like asking questions because I don't actually know what these terms mean.
Real quick, just for you and for anybody in my chat, if you want to know more about this, I highly recommend visiting, like, even the fucking wikis are going to give you more accurate information on that, because I'm like really fucking shady in a lot of these areas. So I could be wrong on what I'm saying, but yeah, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
One of the things that really interests me is why the U.S. produces more of these kind of companies that are sort of leading the world, and why it tends to graduate more entrepreneurs into adulthood. And the big fear I have of mine when we're trying to implement governmental systems to address these problems is that we somehow accidentally cut out whatever incentive it is for those people to do that, right?
So the problem is that there's two huge problems. Big problem is American exceptionalism. We tend to think that we're special and more unique than any country in the world, but the fact of the matter is the United States has a lot of very unique advantages to it, not by way of our special ultra cool constitution or government, which I think are probably good things, but due to a couple other factors as well. Like, the first factor is the United States is fucking huge. We are a massive fucking country. We have a lot of natural resources. We're largest exporters of oil in the world. Like, we have a lot of fucking natural resources in the United States. Like, we do a lot of shit. We're the 13th largest exporter of oil in the world. A lot of people might not even know that. So we've got a lot of natural resources that we can draw from. So things like manufacturing and all that are help. We also, I think in like World War I and World War II, I think that we made massive strides over other countries there in terms of our economy, because those wars, especially World War II, like significantly bolstered the U.S. like production base and hurt a lot of other countries as well. I think that gave us like a step above a lot of other countries. A lot of people will point to like the 50s, 60s and like how we came out of World War II and that economy and all that shit needs to be emulated and shit. Well, part of that was just like our whole infrastructure didn't get like bombed to fucking shit like some of these other countries have, you know?
Right. Yeah. There was like just an inherent advantage of just we didn't
not getting fucking firebombed. Yeah.
Like Germany had to like reset completely. Like Japan, it was like on fire. Yeah. Exactly. What I'm looking for right now is how many of the top companies in the world are founded in America.
I'm sorry, real quick. The United States actually produces the most oil in the world. I was actually only looking at exports before. We're the 13th highest exporter, but we produce more oil than any other single country in the world. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think we have to import all of our oil from like Saudi Arabia or some shit, but we've got a lot of natural resources here. So like you can see like things like this don't necessarily come from the fact that we've made such great decisions as Americans, you know? But
I was talking more from a capitalist point of view, because that's where we were kind of leaning with that discussion. Was I'm thinking like in regards to the top companies in the United States, the top innovators, the top technological, like your Amazons, your Googles, your Facebooks. These seem to be American founded businesses. These seem to be businesses that thrive and grow in America, and companies of those equivalents do exist, like Alibaba and stuff like that.
Sure.
But and Tencent, right? But don't seem to be as frequent in other countries as here. Maybe
Sure.
that's a meme though.
So
that's
I'm gonna extrapolate a lot based on the little bit of knowledge I know. I'm very uncomfortable doing this. But like one thing that helps the U.S., and this is why I'm very big like pro EU, is that one thing that is really big in the U.S. is the fact that we are 50 like United States. The United States represents not only a massive geographic landmass, but we have a huge economy too. If you want to make like a really big business in the United States, you instantaneously have access to the entire U.S. market, right? If I start a company in, say for instance, I start a company in Iraq or some shit, right? Like like selling products to other countries is kind of like an ordeal. Like I probably got to go through a lot of steps in order to gain access to other markets. In the US, if I open a store, I can sell products like to the entire fucking country, like, without even thinking about it. Like if you go to buy something in Washington, you don't think about it, right? You don't have to like go through any weird kind of process to import or export or anything. Like that level of integration that we have between all of our states, I think goes a long way because our market is so huge. So that like if you wanted to start on creating a new product, like if you create the same product in another country, it's just not going to be successful because you don't have access immediately to such a huge marketplace, you know? Like I think that's a pretty big...
Wouldn't that then indicate that a country like China or India should have, well, I guess not because the purchasing power parity is lower, huh?
Well, China does have some huge fucking products, and that's actually something that we should probably expect to see as these countries get bigger and bigger. And we're starting to get to places where a lot of people in the West aren't comfortable with it, where China is actually starting to have some influence on what we even do in the West, right? Like even companies like Riot will modify the way that they balance or mess with certain champions, right? Like Xin Zhao and shit, based on who plays them, you know, in China. Like these things are starting to happen, and that's probably only going to grow. It become more important, you know?
Yeah, and then I'm also interested, like the thing with Chinese companies is they don't like keep their books and accounting in the same way that we do. So we don't actually know like how large Tencent is, for example. Like when we think of like a market cap and like how that applies to an American company, right? Tencent, like it's like unfathomable what their market cap would be. They have one listed, right? But it doesn't. The assets aren't aggregated in the same way that they are here. So we don't
it's
really
possible.
know.
I don't know, because I've heard that like the government subsidizes a lot of different parts of those types of companies as well, which
it's
may
so convoluted. There's no way to piece it apart.
Yeah, it's probably a lot different. Yeah. Honestly, and this is going to sound like really shitty, and it actually hurts me being an ex-libertarian. I think that Asian culture might actually be superior for the success of a country to like Western culture. That where they have a much more collectivist mindset where they can like work together and make personal sacrifices and shit. Whereas in the West, we are very much we're very liberal and not collectivist. And I kind of wonder in the long term if that's going to help places like China or places in the East, you know, kind of propel them further along than places in the West are capable of getting, because we're very much kind of like for ourselves, you know, and not as willing to work together, I think.
So you're saying that the fact that some individuals are willing to like maybe take on like a lesser quality of life in order to like further the greater,
reading about like Japanese people is like the culture over there is so amazing. Like I don't know if I was telling you this or someone else, but have you heard about like the old people that like volunteered to clean up like the nuclear waste sites and shit?
No, I've never heard this. That's
I think
crazy.
there's like a special name for it, but like literally, the idea was that like cleaning up a lot of these sites would probably lead to like irreparable harm to your DNA and shit because of like radiation and whatnot. But there are like older Japanese people they're like, you know, this is our mess. We're gonna clean it up. We're gonna die sooner anyway, and we don't want our younger population to deal with it. Like they're like Japanese people, have like a really amazing mindset in terms of like how they function as a society, and it's really fascinating to look at the dichotomy of that versus like Western nations, where like
who would never do that.
Yeah, where people are like, I'm not gonna join the EU. I need my own fucking country. Fuck off. You know, it's like, holy shit. Like this is such a toxic mindset from an economic point of view. Like, Jesus Christ. Like this obsession with sovereignty in your own country and fuck everybody else and fuck immigrants. And it's like, dude, like, you know, meantime, China is building roads throughout the fucking world. They're building their relationships with Africa. They're bringing in African students and educating them for free because they know that as soon as they send them back, they're going to have those connections for businesses that start in Africa. China's talking about building massive trade routes throughout all of Europe that would probably extend into Africa as well. Like, I don't know. I think that mindset for growth is probably going to be way better in the future than this really toxic, I don't like to say toxic liberal mindset that we have in the West, because I like individualism and whatnot, but you have to understand that I think there's a time when you need to put that aside and kind of like work for a greater good if you want to, you know, continue to advance in the ways that you have before, you know?
You only believe this on a macro level though, but on a personal level, you definitely don't believe this, right?
I justify it on a personal level with my maximizing my own happiness, if that makes sense. Like I would be okay with having a little bit like this is how I'm okay with like things like taxation. Like I'm okay with having less, knowing that it's improving everybody around me, because ultimately that would improve everything around me. It would improve me, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you'd want the United States, for example, to move in a more collective direction, but would you be willing to sacrifice yourself for a lower quality of life if that was what was required?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on what we're talking about. If we're like things like our education in the U.S. is fucking deplorable. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's awful.
Our healthcare is deplorable and embarrassing. Like improving outcomes on these things, I think would dramatically improve the health of the entire country, which I think that would go back to improving my health as well, right? Like when I turn on the news, I don't want to be listening about the 37th black person in Chicago that died over a fucking weekend, you know, or I don't want to go walk down the street. And even in my city of Omaha, population, 900,000 in the whole metropolitan area, we have homeless people at every fucking major like interstate exit. These things are just
Wow.
not good for the country. Yeah.
So you'd be willing to sacrifice, let's say, like a significant portion of your income, like an additional 10% to like see these things?
An additional 10% without a question. Once you start getting into
Mm-hmm.
things like 50 or 60%, then I have to start thinking a little bit more. But if I knew that the outcomes were there, the important thing is knowing that things are being improved. If I know that things are actually being improved, then yeah, I think I could make some pretty big sacrifices on my income. I would be okay with that. Yeah, for sure.
That's interesting, yeah. But you can't be really sure because the government might take that income and then misappropriate it, right? So
Yeah, depending
That's
on what the program is. Yeah.
yeah, just because you raise taxes doesn't necessarily mean you solve the problem because it has to be translated into like an efficient way to actually utilize that money.
Yeah. But like things
And
like Medicare like work in the US. Like I mean it's not like Medicare is this like questionable program that has like a shady history. Like I mean Medicare
Well, it
works.
costs a lot.
What?
It costs a lot. It's one of the biggest expenses the U.S.
Well,
has,
it's a big
right?
expense because it's one of our entitlement programs. Sure, it is a big expense, but like it works, and it's arguable why the expenses exist sometimes. There's a lot of really weird shit that exists in our government that a lot of people don't realize. So here's the thing, right, that you may not know. In other countries, are you familiar with the NHS in like the UK, their national healthcare system?
No, I'm not. I should just say I'm not.
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the big reasons why healthcare systems in other countries work is because the government healthcare can actually just set prices. So like in Germany or in the United Kingdom, their government can say, "Hey, listen, this drug, it's $20. Period. That's it."
Yeah.
And they work as like a very strong collective bargaining tool against like a lot of pharmaceutical companies in terms of being able to set the price for different medical procedures and whatnot. In the United States of America, the Medicare program is actually specifically disbarred or barred from, I should say barred, not disbarred. They're barred from negotiating for drug prices. They're not allowed to do it. Medicare is not allowed to negotiate for drug prices because Republicans don't want whatever fucking shit government impacting our healthcare. Like shit like that is fucking
So what determines
crazy.
that? The free market only?
The market only, yeah. As free
then
as the
how do you
market is, but
But you get those memes where there's like the Martin Shkreli memes, right? Where there's no competition for certain pharmaceuticals
Yeah.
that people need, and they can charge like $4,000. Yeah.
yeah. So the problem is that like free markets, and anybody that's done Econ 101 should acknowledge this, is that like markets rely on a few fundamental assumptions, and healthcare fails so many of these fucking things. So like for instance, like informed consumers, it's really hard to be an informed consumer about market stuff. The ability to choose between goods is really important when it comes to a free market. I need to be able to choose between product A and product B. Well, in the United States, if you
And they
desperately
have to be reasonably near each other in terms of quality. Like
Yeah.
one can't be like completely shit, and then the other one's like, yeah.
Sure. Like in the United States, if you desperately need healthcare right now, you're not in a position to shop for it, right? If you're having a fucking heart attack, are you going to start shopping for hospitals? Right?
Yeah, you
No.
can, yeah.
And then a lot of the prices of stuff is obscured from you because so you don't even get to shop on price because a lot of it is covered up by insurance. And you don't even get to really shop for insurance because a lot of insurance just comes with your job, right? So we have so many different fucking failures in the US healthcare system that like to call this the free market is fucking absurd. It's a hilarious bastardization. I can't imagine any fucking Friedman or Adam Smith or any fucking economist or even like the biggest like free market dudes being like, oh yes, healthcare is a perfectly functioning, free market type of thing. Like I don't think the free market incentives are there at all for healthcare to be functioning.
Do you think the ACA was a step forward then?
The ACA's goal was to get more people covered, and in that regard, it was successful. It did not address the cost of healthcare, but I don't think it would have been possible to because you had to negotiate with Republicans and even some kind of centrist like Democrats, So the ACA didn't do anything to address the huge problem of healthcare, which is the cost. But in terms of getting more people covered, it was successful.
So you think there's two problems then? One is the actual cost of healthcare in the country, and the second is the coverage of it, and the ability for people to get it.
Kind of, yeah, but they're
like
kind
a
of
sort
one and the
like-
same,
I
right?
guess they're one and the same.
Yeah,
huh?
when the cost becomes prohibitively higher, then less people can afford it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you have any idea of like what a kind of like solution or like even like a direction to go to like try to start addressing that problem?
That's really complicated. What to quote Trump, who knew healthcare could be so complicated? I think that was his exact word. Because he's
Did he actually say that?
Yeah, because he's a literal
Oh.
fucking degenerate, fucking dumb fuck. Holy shit, he's so stupid. But yeah, I don't know what like the solution is. Arguably, things like expanding government healthcare and giving them the ability to negotiate prices is probably good. I personally think that the idea that healthcare is tied to your job in the United States is literally fucking abhorrent. I can't believe people ever thought that was a good idea. It keeps you enslaved to your fucking job, which is the worst thing ever. Yeah, but like our biggest problem is in the United States is cost, and a lot of people don't realize that. Like if you look up, like it's not even like some people might think that like okay, sure, you know, like maybe in the U.S. we have bad health outcomes, sure, you know, our health outcomes are worse than other countries or not. But like you know, maybe if we did a socialized system, we've got to spend way more in healthcare. You know, like we're totally fucked. The U.S. already spends the most in healthcare, like as a percentage of GDP than any other country in the world. We spend more than all the Scandinavian countries. We spend way more than the fucking NHS or Canada. But what do we get for it? For all of our money?
Well, isn't the no, that must not work. But I like, what's with the argument of like most of that goes to like the very
R&D?
elderly people on Medicare?
I mean, I'm sure a decent amount of it does, sure, but I mean that's part of your healthcare costs, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Sorry, I wasn't reading my YouTube chat. Destiny, you should be called Density because you're dense and stupid. Thanks.
Nice.
Quam Wams Asket Limixium says that's not true. What's not true, buddy? All prescribed drugs in Germany are €5 no matter what. From Stefan Ruff. Nice.
How's your YouTube chat in terms of like the quality of conversation there versus like your Twitch chat?
I haven't been reading it that much over the past few days though. The thing is that like on YouTube as a platform, there are way more of the insane fucking like conservative dipshits and like the kind of the alt-righter people and race realist dudes. So I don't read my YouTube chat as much, but I should start engaging with it more. I just haven't been. The thing that sucks the most about this conversation is that this is a conversation that should be happening between like really educated people, but the problem is that we can't even agree that like healthcare is a problem in the U.S. right now. Like a lot of Republicans are happy that we're going back to our old healthcare system. Like they consider that a victory. My mom considers that a victory, that we're going back to what we had before, which was a fucking disaster. We're the only country in like the industrialized world that has so many people going bankrupt for medical reasons. I think that's like 64% of all bankruptcies before the ACA were due to medical reasons. And of those people, over half of them already had health insurance. Like this is a monumental fucking failure of our system. Yeah. It's not good.
It's really crazy. I mean, I think everybody can think of an individual use case. My fiance has a medical savings plan, right, where she basically just puts money into another account and she hopes it's going to be enough to cover a serious incident, right? Because she can't possibly afford monthly health care.
Sure. This is an HSA, not a flex account, right?
I don't know for sure.
Okay. HSAs, I think, roll over. Flex accounts, you have to use them at the end of the year or they go away completely.
I see. Yeah. So why? No, it's a rollover, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
For sure.
So I think think that's considered an HSA, but okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so she's so like even like I have so many people in my life that I know that are like suffering from this, right?
Yeah. One of the saddest things about the work related shit that I know for like, this is just anecdotal, but I'm sure there's plenty of other people that have this, is I knew a guy that worked at McDonald's. He was a manager there. He fucking hated his job, but he can never ever leave because he was a type 1 diabetic, and he could never get another job because nobody else will insure him because of pre-existing condition. So he's basically a slave to McDonald's until the ACA. Maybe now he can, but yeah.
Didn't they remove a lot of those? Haven't the Republicans been trying to dismantle the ACA? Has that been happening?
So what the Republicans did, which is really cute, is the ACA works because of a mandate, right? So are you familiar with like pooled risk?
No.
So the idea is like, let's say that I take one driver, and let's say this driver is a pretty risky driver. I don't want to use driving because that's kind of your own fault sometimes. Let's say that I take health outcomes, okay? We look at health outcomes, okay? Let's say that I take 10 people. Let's say that this one person is born with a condition that kind of fucks them. They've got some autoimmune disease or something like that, right? If I want to insure just this person, I've got to charge him $1,000 a month to do it, right? This guy's fucked. But if I pull him with 9 other people that are healthy and their average health costs a month are only $10, right? I can bring that dude's payments down to maybe $120 a month and charge everybody else like $80 or $90 a month, right? Because now the risk is pooled. One person having really negative outcomes, that cost can be absorbed by other people. So part of what the ACA did was the ACA's goal was to bring everybody under the health insurance program, because there are a lot of people in the U.S. that don't have health insurance that hurt people that need it, right? So somebody like me, for instance, I never buy health insurance, okay? And I will never buy health insurance because I don't need it. Maybe in the future I will, but right now I don't need it. However, because I'm not in that pool of people that are buying health insurance, the people that need it have to pay more. So what the mandate did was it forces people like me to get health insurance. But what Republicans did was Republicans left all the exchanges alone. All the exchanges are fine or whatever. But the Republicans did is they got rid of the individual mandate. So that means that next year I don't have to pay a fine and I don't have to get health insurance. So everything is going to collapse. And then when it collapses, the Republicans are going to say, oh, well, look, it was always going to fail anyway. That's what Republicans are going to say.
Huh.
Yeah. So they got rid of the individual mandate, and they haven't replaced it with any other type of healthcare program. They're basically just saying, fuck everybody who's, fuck.
Why wouldn't you have healthcare right now, not knowing that maybe like you develop some serious condition or get in an accident? Like, how do you address that in your life?
For me personally, I understand that all insurance is a scam. That's a really loaded
What do you
statement.
mean by
but
that?
basically, if you're buying insurance, the average cost of what you're paying is always going to be higher than the average cost of what you get out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how they
the
make money,
idea.
right? Yeah, of course. So,
I mean,
so
yeah,
basically,
they wouldn't have a business if they didn't do that,
I don't buy insurance for anything, and I figure if anything happens, then I'll just pay for it. If there's a catastrophic thing, like truly catastrophic, then I just file bankruptcy. I'm just kind of fucked at that point. But the chances of that happening are so low that I wouldn't harm my quality of life in purchasing like insurance for everything else, like just because there's a chance of that catastrophic failure happening. I'm sorry, let me be clear.
So you're just playing the percentages.
Yeah, pretty much. For me to get basic health insurance, and this is the highest deductible, shittiest copay shit I can get, is like $300 a month. Okay, my $40,000 car that I love so much outside is $300 a month, $350 a month, right? So like if I were to not get health insurance, I could literally get like a fucking GTR or some shit. Okay, like that's
insane.
that's a lot of fucking money, for health insurance. And maybe I should get it, maybe I shouldn't. But the fact is that removing people like me from that pool, young people typically don't buy health insurance. Younger healthy people, or healthy people in general, don't. You're fucking over the people that really need the health insurance the most, which is what Republicans are doing by getting rid of the mandate.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But the actual ACA will still be present.
Kind of, but once the mandates go away, everybody will pull out of the exchanges, and then it'll just kind of collapse, and you won't be able to go to an exchange to get health insurance. And then people...
You think so?
Yeah, of course. Because there's not the mandates anymore. They don't have the incentive to go... Because a lot of... This was my big problem with the ACA, but the thing with the ACA was that private companies were heavily incentivized to go and work on the exchanges, because now people like me, who would have never bought insurance from your company before, now I'm super incentivized, because if I don't, I'm going to be charged a fine by the federal government that's going to equal or exceed what I would have spent on health insurance anyway. So I literally have to buy insurance. There's no good reason not to.
I got it. So you're saying that those mandate groups were basically, those groups were set up because people were mandated to go do it.
Yep.
So if they're not mandated anymore, the groups, that follows.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I'm not going to buy health insurance next year. A lot of people like me aren't, and then the companies are going to leave the exchanges because there's no incentive for them to be on there, because it's just going to be like bad sick people or whatever, and then everything is going to kind of fall apart, and then Republicans are going to go, look, Obamacare was always going to fail. Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's really fucking disgusting. The U.S. is pretty fucked. Aaron got, I believe it's called a corneal abrasion.
What's that?
Basically, you get like a kind of a bad scratch in your eye, and you need to like chill for a day or two. And we went to the little urgent care center over here to get it looked at, because she was having like extreme pain for like a day, and it cost like $250 just to get it looked at.
In an urgent care?
Yep, in an urgent care.
Whoa. That's freaking crazy.
Which for me is whatever. I don't care. I'm fucking rich, right? Or not rich, but I'm. It's not a big problem for me. But like, if that was
that's
back
like game changing.
If that was 10 years ago, I'm not going to urgent care for $250. That's like a new fucking. It's like a new tire and a half or whatever. Like, I can't afford that shit. Like with 200, like, that's insane. You know?
Isn't it the same thing with like tickets and like the way that like punishment works is like if you get a speeding ticket, you make like $300K. You're like, okay, but like that can ruin a poor person's life, and they get into. Isn't the criminal system is similar to that, right? Like where you can get into a situation where if you can't essentially buy your way out of jail, like through bail and stuff like that, aren't you like infinitely fucked in this loop that you can't do anything about?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're pretty fucked. Because when you go to jail, the outcomes for your life become worse and worse, because now that you spent time in jail, it's going to be harder to get a job. You're probably going to lose your currently existing job. You might start to acquire debt. You know, like there's a whole bunch of bad. This is why recidivism, the act of committing a crime that sends you back to jail, is such a huge problem in the U.S. Because like once you're involved in the system, it's like a part of your life now, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
It's fucked. The whole lawyer shit in the US is so fucked. I hate it.
Well, because some huge percentage of people that don't get lawyers have a way worse time in arguing their case, right?
Oh, well, you can't. A lot of times you can't. So, like, here's like an interesting meme. This is anecdotal, but I'm sure this applies to a ton of people, right? I got pulled over in Kansas City because I had an expired license and I wasn't aware of it, okay? So if you get pulled over, not expired, it's suspended. If you get pulled over on a suspended license, your max fines in Missouri can include up to, I think, 3 years in jail. So, like, I was looking at potential jail time for that, right? So I didn't want to fuck around that. Obviously, I'm not going to fucking jail.
Yeah.
So what I did was I got pulled over for speeding. So I think my ticket, it was like an 85 and a 70, and it was a suspended license. 2 fairly hefty fines, with the suspended license being a really big deal. What I did was, the first thing I did was I read a whole bunch about how to be a lawyer and all that shit so I could argue my case, right? I asked for a couple continuances. I did my research. I called into the prosecuting attorney office, and I asked to speak to somebody about my case, and what they said was, "Are you a lawyer?" And I said, "No, but I'm representing myself in a case." And they said, "Oh, sorry, well, we don't talk to non-lawyers." And they hung up on me. So I was like, okay, well, that's it. So then the next thing I did was I paid $1,000 for a traffic lawyer, right? And what the traffic lawyer did was, he knows everybody, like, in the courts, okay? He knows all the people. So, like, for instance, like, I showed up to court once on one of my cases, and he says, "Okay, yo, what's up? I'm meeting you for the first time. You know, we've talked." He peeks in, and he says, "Oh, shit, this judge is a huge fucking cunt. We don't want to be here today. Trust me. I'm going to continue the case to next month or whatever." So we got a continuance. When I showed up the next time, he's like, "Oh, shit." He's like, I know the prosecutor, and I know the judge for this case. Just let me, like, talk to him. Like, this is going to be super sick." So he goes up, talks to him, and then I walk up later, and I pled guilty to a broken taillight and 5 miles per hour over for speeding. That's what I pled guilty to, literally.
Whoa.
So if you look at my record right now, there's nothing about a fucking
just
suspended.
fucking by one.
Wait, hold on.
I just started making 6 gingerly, and I'm looking for one to buy, and you make a lot more than me, dog.
I'm really uncomfortable.
American.
I'm really uncomfortable driving a $100,000 car, but I appreciate the thing. Hold on, one more.
Sometimes I click the sound button on the stream and just watch on mute. His mouth literally never stops moving, and his eyes are staring down the nothingness the whole time.
So, like, this
It's
is
really impressive.
Just because I had $1,000 to throw at a lawyer. Look at how it changed for me. This is why I've said this in chat. This is one of the few pieces of advice that I will give where I will say, like, you should listen to me here. Don't do independent research. You should listen to me. And I am very serious. If you are ever facing a serious charge, a serious infraction, so if you're getting like a DUI or a speeding ticket, or not like a bad speeding ticket, like a reckless endangerment or something, or like some really bad thing, you should absolutely get a lawyer. Anybody that tells you not to, ignore that person. And anybody educated will agree with me. You should always get a lawyer to represent yourself in these cases. Oftentimes, whatever you spend on the lawyer is going to be less than what you would have spent on the fine anyway. You should absolutely always get a lawyer if you are ever facing a serious charge in your life. Do not go to fucking court dressed up nicely, talking well, and then prostrate yourself and present yourself to the judge and hope to God that you don't get fucked. Do not fucking do that. Holy shit. Absolutely get a lawyer. Sorry. I'm really, really, really big on that.
Yeah, I mean, your story is crazy. Like, that only cost you $1,000 to get, like, all that?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that, like, the fines, because I think the minimum fine was already, like, $500 or $600, or maybe even more in Missouri for suspended license. Like, the minimum fine's, like, I'm pretty sure I saved money spending $1,000 on a lawyer.
Easily,
like, yeah. But, like, the idea
much less
that,
just your record and everything like that.
Like, it felt like a dream. Like, walking to the clerk afterwards, and she's like, okay, like, well, what do you owe? And I pay, like, $200 for, like, my broken tail, like, for whatever I pled it down to, like, blew my mind. I couldn't believe that it was happening. I was like, is this really like what the legal system in the US? Like, this fucking is insane to me. Like, this is how people get like 30 DUIs and shit. Like, you have to get the right lawyer that knows everybody and like can represent you and shit. Like, ugh.
Jeez. Dang, man. That's, the difference between that is just actually crazy.
Yeah. Have you heard about the issue where people are going to jail in the U.S. because they can't pay bail? If you've ever got to do bail in the U.S., you usually go to somebody called a bail bondsman, where you usually pay a percentage of your total bail, and then I think you give them collateral or something, and then the assumption is that you go to your court and you do your case or whatever, and then you have to pay some percentage of them, and I think you might get some of it back or something, but yeah. The cash bail system is broken. Yeah, it's pretty fucking dumb. Like, there's a lot of shit in the U.S. that's pretty fucked. It's like it's very, very stacked in favor of wealthy people. It's pretty insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You get nothing back from a bondsman. You get everything back if you pay bail yourself. Oh, so you pay 10% of the bail to a bailsman. They don't give you anything back, really? That's crazy. Damn.
That is crazy.
And that's a nice way to target the poor, because the only people that would use a bondsman are people that can't afford bail anyway. Yikes. So lucky I have a boring life with no trouble. Yeah, being poor sucks in a lot of different ways, guys. Holy shit, it impacts. The problem with being poor that a lot of people don't realize when you just try to think about, this is why like I kind of get a little bit irritated when I see people talk about like the 30-day poor challenge where you've got to live off of like $50 a week in groceries or something. The problem with being poor is that there's two big parts. The biggest part is the no way out part. Is that oftentimes when you're poor, it's not just that you have no money, it's that you have no money and you have no future. Like if you're working a shit job and you've got no education and you're starting to fall behind on bills, there's no redemption for you. You don't have a way out. You're not like working your way towards some degree. The job you're working at probably doesn't have like a great vertical ladder for you to climb. You're not doing anything to better yourself or invest in yourself or improve your life. Like it's just that like and it impacts every area of your life. Your relationships come under fire because you can't do as much because you fight over money. Your social life comes under fire. You can't really go out and hang out with friends in all the ways that you'd like to, and every little thing becomes a huge problem in your life. That's another thing too. You ever know people who's like everything just seems to be going wrong all the time for them and they're poor? That's because normal people can absorb problems really well, but if you're poor, you can't. If I get a flat tire right now, what is it, like $150 for a new tire or some shit? If you're poor and you get a flat tire, you're riding that fucking donut for like 6 months. Like saving up $200 to get a fucking tire when $200 can represent like 2 months worth of disposable income to you, like that's a big fucking deal. Every little problem in your life hurts you so much more, and everything is so stressful and like ugh.
Charged with hit and skip and failure to control after running off the road and taking out
a little bit
the guide wire of an
some of
electrical
this
pole.
is relevant to
Uncle
you, Dan.
is a lawyer and got it down to fail to
How can I be of
control.
assistance?
And I never had to go in front of a judge.
Dan, is it
Just
true
talk
that
to
you,
prosecutor,
you
hashtag
think
USA.
Taxes on the wealthy is bad?
Yes. Well, I gotta be careful because Kalik is after me.
Is he the one that made that threat about you yesterday?
I don't know, but I just want to say that I actually really like Kalik. He's one of my best friends in Discord. He's a good guy, and I support a lot of the socialist beliefs.
There you go.
Do you think that UBI is a good idea?
Yes, but it has to be in a different way than just giving money to people. I believe in a flat tax, and I don't care if you guys think that that's stupid. Fuck all of you guys.
Yeah, flat tax is a horrible fucking idea. Like 20% on everybody's income or whatever.
Well, okay.
20% universally, regardless of what your income level is.
Okay,
Correct.
but
That's
you're
a flat
missing
tax,
a core
shit.
function here of the Dan plan. 2 core things. Okay, just want to get this out here. Number 1, okay, that at the end of the year, everyone would get back like $10,000 to $15,000, essentially making it that poor people on the bottom rung would pay 0 taxes whatsoever, or every month you would get a check from the government for that amount. So
isn't this just UBI?
It's there was what was the tax plan presented 8 years ago? But yeah, I'll try and find it. I think it was called Fair Tax. Yeah, that's it.
Sounds like a
fairtax.org.
Republican ship meme, but okay.
Listen, all right, you're not even letting me get it out there. Why it's you tell me why it's fucked, okay? I want to have your opinion on it, okay?
Sure.
Let me go to the website.
So if you take somebody that makes $40,000 a year, okay, and they live in like a normal place, the chances are that they spend a disproportionately high percentage of their income on needs that are crucial to survival. So they might spend a decent percentage of their income on housing. They might spend a decent percentage of their income on like transportation and food, right? The percentage of their income that they have available for recreation is very low. So this, we can actually math out examples. Let's say that I have, let's say that I make $40,000 a year, and let's say that I've got $4,000 in disposable income. Okay. Now let's say that if we bump their tax up like a few percentage points, of their overall tax rate, we're really coming hard into that $4,000 because it's such a small percentage of their overall income that bumping up the percentage that they pay in tax is going to increase that disposable amount quite a bit. Now, if you compare somebody like that to somebody like me that makes a lot more money than what I need to survive, my disposable income is actually much higher than the rest of my income, right? My disposable income is probably twice as much as what I need to survive. So if you increase my tax rates the same percentage points as you do the poor person's tax rates, even though I'm paying a higher dollar amount, the percentage of my disposable income that I'm paying in taxes is actually far less than the other person. Does that make sense? Or do you want me to do numbers? Yeah, okay.
No, I understand it so far. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
That's it.
Or is
That's
that
it. That's the argument. It's that the amount of disposable income, because when you apply a tax, you apply it to a person's entire income, not just their disposable income. So when disposable income makes a very small percentage of your overall income, any tax applied to your overall income is going to hurt your disposable income much more than somebody that makes a much higher income. Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
So, okay, so my question is, under the assumption that we got rid of income tax and we had a flat tax across the board, why would it disproportionately affect the bottom class of society if they were receiving a check every month for, let's say, $1,000 or something along those lines?
Well,
Meaning, essentially, they would be paying no tax.
Well, then that's not. Then you're talking about not a flat tax, that's a progressive tax system.
Well, no, that's a. So the way
You're just making it.
that I looked at.
You're making it sound weird, but that's a progressive system because $1,000 is more money to a poor person than a rich person. It represents a greater percentage of income to a poor person than a rich income. So you're essentially it's a progressive rebate.
Sure. So I'm trying to find the main problems that you have, at least with the fair tax one, because it's the only one I
well, my problem is that it leaves a lot of shit unfunded because then the wealthiest people are paying an absurdly small percentage of tax. They have a massive amount.
Is that true though? Because my understanding also of the fair tax was that it applied to capital gains purchases as well, which I think is great. Meaning if you were to go and buy $1 million in stock, you would have to pay $100,000 up front. Or if you buy an apartment building for $1 million right now, you're paying $100,000 right now, as opposed to before, you were only paying taxes on the disposition of those assets when you sold them.
I would have to see, I guess if what you're saying is that complicated, I would just have to see like a tax policy center's analysis on like how it works out. There are two big I think it's the Tax Policy Institute and there's another one that do like big you could also say the CBA, I think the Congressional Budget or the CBO is a Congressional Budget Office, like kind of like number crunch these things to see how it would impact total tax receipts received and everything. I would have to see if the government actually makes enough money to survive or whatever at that point, or how that would impact
So I mean, the crux of this is I'm interested in it. I'm not saying we push it because I truthfully do not know enough about it. But my instinct and the whole fucking meme from yesterday is I have mine, fuck everyone, no higher taxes for the rich. I don't necessarily
Sure, but you don't even necessarily believe in that. Like, at the very least, you want people that live in your neighborhood to be doing as well as you, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I put out some of my views in that thread, but essentially I don't believe in the whole, like, if you are over $250,000 a year or $500,000 a year in income, that all of a sudden that your tax rate should be in the 50 to 60% range. And even Bernie's tax plan had something where if you're over 250K, you're now in the 40+% range. And I thought that was pretty extreme. I know that some European countries have taxes that high, but that's pretty unheard of, at least for the United States. And I think that's also going to not affect billionaires and whatnot, which I know is the target of this, as much as it would affect, dare I say it, like doctors and physicians and things along those lines, where they get paid in income. They're not getting paid and they can't take their paycheck and the bulk of where they get their money.
Some shit like that,
yeah, they can't do that.
Do you support a higher capital gains tax or corporate tax then?
I support taxing it on purchase. I think that's the right way to do it. I think there's a lot of abuses.
I mean, there are problems with that system as well. I mean, what you're talking about now is a value-added tax, right? Or kind of like a national sales tax or something?
Well, you have to also, yeah, correct. But you have to, I think it has to be targeted specifically. Like, for instance, in Hawaii, they have something like this. So if you go and pay rent in Hawaii, you pay tax on that rent. If you go to see an attorney, you're paying tax on that. So I'm not suggesting so much of that as much as I am on the fact of if you're buying an asset that can appreciate, meaning real estate or stock or some art and things along those lines, things that would fall under capital gains income, that I think that there should be an upfront tax on that immediately, as opposed to just waiting on the sale and being able to do that, because we see that system drastically abused. And I think it also slows down a lot of the abuses that we see in the stock market with things like high frequency trading and things along those lines. And also, to be clear, I'm also saying that we keep the back end as well. So now there's the front end, right, of paying taxes on the front end, meaning if you buy $1 million of stock, you're paying $100,000 now. But if that $1 million in stock turns into 2 million, I'm not saying that's free. You're also still paying a long-term capital gains on that. And I'm saying I think this could supplement while only affecting the most ultra rich without affecting the poor as much. I am aware that poor people still buy stocks and still have retirement funds, and this can affect that. And I think you could work that in. But I think this would predominantly affect the richest people in a fair way, basically.
I guess like the thing that scares me is talking about like disincentivizing investments. I'm not sure how that would work.
How do you deal with someone who says that the free market is the solution to everything?
Someone in chat says,
No matter what I brought
high-frequency
up
trading
to
is
this
taxed using
guy at
normal
work,
income,
his
not capital
solution
gains.
was
That
the free
depends on how
market.
long they do it. The whole point of high-frequency trading is they're buying stuff very quickly. It doesn't necessarily mean they're selling it very quickly either.
Yeah, that's not necessarily true. That's exactly right.
Wait, what did you just say?
He said high frequency trading is not necessarily considered ordinary income because the meme on capital gains is that it's held for longer than a year, right?
year,
But
yeah.
some high frequency trading is done over that period of time, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
And also, it really depends on if you have a first in, first out or a last in, first out. Are you familiar with all that stuff, Stephen?
Does this have to do how you order trades in the books and whatnot, or?
Exactly, and that's another way that like stock traders fuck with things, that this would kind of solve that issue, right? So let me ask chat this to see if people know this stuff right now. Let's say that last year you bought 1 share of Apple for $1, and today how do I phrase this? A lot depends on when you first buy the stock and not. So people are saying, oh, doing high frequency trading, if you were to go and buy a stock right now, 1 stock of Apple, and then sell it 2 seconds later for a 10% profit, would you have to pay taxes on that gain because you've made 10%? And the answer to that is not exactly, as far as I know, yes. Because if
You would pay
held
ordinary
stock,
income, right?
well, that's what you would think, right? Because you sold it within under the year. But what about if you also had Apple stock that you bought from a year before, and now you're delegating that gain to that as opposed to the thing you just bought today?
You can't do that really, right? Because most portfolios will actually separate between the time that you buy each individual buy and sell order, right? Like I know on Schwab, for me, like my buy orders are all like by date, and I can tell exactly which ones will qualify for long-term capital gains.
Well, wait.
and not,
So
right?
like, here's the question. Let's say I buy 100 shares of Twitter today, and then I buy 100 shares of Twitter 2 years from now, and then I sell those 100 shares in 1 day 2 years from now. How do I say whether or not it's the previous 100 shares I bought or the current 100 shares?
Yeah, the accounting should.
And that's
so
how
any investment
people
should
get
account
fucked.
for that.
Okay. Well, that doesn't
No,
sound
no,
unfair. Then that sounds fine. No?
Yeah, I'm not actually understanding what Dan's saying. Because like for me, so for example, I've held TWO for like a long period of time, right? I bought a lot of my shares over a year ago, but I also have other shares that I've bought over the period of time that are not qualified for long-term capital gains. And in those cases, I just have to, I guess it's how you report it, how you report the income, but you'd be definitely doing something illegal that's trackable by the broker that you're using.
I think I understand what Dan is saying, and I'm 99% positive you can't do this. Dan is saying, like, let's say I buy 1 share of Apple like 10 years ago, and then I start day trading Apple by buying 1 share and selling 1 share over and over and over again. You could only do that 1 time because it would sell that previous share first.
Yeah, no, exactly, correct. But that's still a way to offset that 1 gain for that time. It's LIFO versus FIFO.
I guess I don't know how this plays out in like a software realm.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say basically is that there's a lot of tools that corporations can use to avoid this type of shit anyways, and the whole point behind this is that by having a tax on the initial purchase of a capital gain, it kind of puts all of that thing in the past, because if you buy something you have to pay tax on it, that's
free
the end
market
of it, right?
doesn't
There's only
work
so
in
much you can do with
healthcare.
that.
I'm a doc. People rely on me to choose what drugs, treatments they need. You can't shop for a cheap ICU when you have sepsis from pneumonia. The buyer-seller negotiation breaks down.
Fuck. What were you just talking about? Another problem that might be something to consider is that like taxing the front end of purchasing a security is going to feel really shitty if you lose money on it too, right?
Sure. And I think there could be some mechanisms in place where perhaps those that type of regulation would only affect certain brackets. I think that's reasonable, but I wonder what type of economic effect that would have. Let's say that was in place today, where if you have a certain threshold that whenever you buy stock, you're paying tax on it. It encourages a holding mentality in the market. Now, is that good or is that bad for growth?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't
So
think
some
I don't like
folks-
the idea of HFTs. HFTs seem like cancer, but I don't know.
No, they do, and I think, but there's a lot more of it just besides out of high frequency trading stuff that needs to be penalized and discouraged as well.
Maybe, yeah. I've heard it argued that the introduction of short selling smoothed out the song. Well, but like this is the argument that every like shady investor dude kind of uses. This is like the casual like defense or the standard defense of HFTs as well. It's like, listen, like HFTs literally seem like a cancer that is just scraping value off the market. They're not adding any value at all, but they're extracting a ton of money from other traders, and people are always like, increase liquidity. And it's like, really? I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe for more exotic things, but like, I have a really hard time believing that like Twitter and Apple and like these Fortune 500 companies or these S&P 500 or Dow Jones listed companies like would have all these liquidity problems if it wasn't for, you know, HFTs existing. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Not easy to regulate them either, I don't think.
I don't think people understand what HFTs are. They also conflate the benefits of electronic trading with HFT. Yeah. Or, okay, I guess I'm sorry. People don't know what an HFT is. So HFT has nothing to do with like trading online or anything like that. An HFT, a high frequency trader, is basically a very complicated math algorithm that computes when to buy and when to sell stocks, not based on any type of, I don't think they usually take into account like any fundamental value. I'm sure there's really complicated ones that might, but basically just on like kind of like market psychology memes. But also like a lot of the ways that HFTs work can be like a little bit shady, and that they can abuse like kind of like book order tricks in order to like, fuck, I wish I could remember exactly how this works, but it's like the way that orders are listed on the books. Like you might go to buy like 100 shares of something, and like you place the order in such a way that when you buy it, an HFT can actually buy the shares ahead of you and then relist them in front of you, like before your trade finishes, like really crazy shit like that. And HFTs like have like a really big advantage because they, I know I didn't explain that correct, but like HFTs have a really big advantage because they can operate like instantaneously as well.
Yeah, they have low latency networks directly to NASDAQ.
Yeah, well, it's not even about there being a low latency network, although that definitely helps, right? They actually laid fiber across the fucking Atlantic Ocean just to connect the, just to shave a few milliseconds off the trade time between the New York Stock Exchange and I think the London Stock Exchange is what it's called. Yeah, shit like that. But it's just the idea that you basically have algorithms, really complicated math equations that are making the decisions on what to buy and what to sell. So like as a person, you're never like, they can just do really weird, it's called front running. Oh, maybe front running is what it's called. Yeah. Like, HFT
I don't think
firms dig
that's
through
front running.
mountains to get fat. Well, front running is what I was talking about, where like I wish I remember. I don't remember how they would do this with the books, because if you just place a whole order, it'll be filled in like the order and like the line is received. But like what HFTs can do is they can list a security, and then if one of them is bought or whatever, or if it sees that something is being purchased, it can buy things ahead of you on the book and then relist them immediately in front of you, knowing that it'll be bought. Like really weird, shady shit like that doesn't represent like any valuable thing to a market, but it's literally just like a robot saying like, oh well, I can make some money doing this. Like kind of bullshit thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's been quite a few issues or instances in the past of these bots running amok and like really causing real damage to institutional investors as well.
Maybe. Without HFTs, market making would be ridiculously hard. Is that really true? Did our stock market really have huge problems with liquidity or other related problems before HFTs existed? Is that actually true? Like how much money do HFTs...
Volume, but...
There would be less volume, but like so much so that like markets would actually experience like actual turbulence. Like, I don't know if I believe that. It could be true. I don't know. Yeah, that what somebody just said seems to be the case. It's sort of true, but definitely exaggerated. Like I'm sure HFTs do provide some benefits, but for the amount of money that, well, like how much money do HFTs make every year? This number's in like the hundreds of billions or some shit, isn't it? It's like massive, isn't it?
It should be. That's I probably imagine the majority of trading.
Does anybody have a good source for this? I'm looking at like Quora answers and shit, and I can't trust any of this. The main benefit cited by HFTs is spread reduction. Yeah, sure, but like, does reducing a spread by some amount and then extracting however many billions of dollars HFTs do from the market every year, is that really a worthwhile exchange there? That's kind of what I'm asking. I don't know. I'm not really.
Do you have any thoughts? How would you, if you could just fuck with taxes and
your limited knowledge that we both have right now, but if you could just change the tax code today, what would you do? Like, and again, I know you don't have all the data, I don't have it either, but if you could make sweeping changes like, okay, tomorrow healthcare is free, I'm cutting military budget by 50%, like what would you put into place tomorrow and hope that it was better than what we have today?
Education and healthcare absolutely need to be funded in the United States. Those are, I think, the two biggest. Healthcare because it makes us all feel better and probably should be because of moral whatever reasons, but education because holy fuck. Like,
so
Jesus.
What would you do on education?
College has to be free, I think. Or
really?
Yeah, I think everybody needs access to higher education. We have to educate our population. Fucking Christ, we have to educate our people. Like, all the jobs in the future require education. We're competing against a global workforce these days. We're bringing in foreign talent to our country in order to fill out some of these higher level software engineering jobs. We have to educate our people.
So just public universities or also private ones as well? Do you get grants if you want to go to MIT?
Yeah, sure, if you qualify for it, yeah. I just don't think money should ever be a factor in deciding whether or not a student can attend a higher institution if they can qualify for it. But so like the public schools, well, how do you pay for it? You'd have to increase taxes somewhere. I just don't know where we'd do it.
You wouldn't be okay with cutting like the military budget or anything along those lines?
Cutting military budget gets into like global politics in a weird way, and I don't know that's a really complicated thing. When you talk about cutting the military budget, like you're talking about like getting rid of like U.S. expansionist policy and like curtailing our involvement in NATO quite a bit. I don't know what that does globally for political systems around the world. Because I'm not sure it has to be that complicated. I mean, a tremendous amount of our military budget. I don't know exactly, but I would imagine a very large portion of our military budget goes towards funding things which I think are unlikely to be used again. Like, how many tanks do we have? How many battleships do we have? Carriers, and what are the costs incurred with both the future production and the maintenance of these, and what happens essentially if you just get rid of them? Like, do we need to have the tens of thousands of fucking tanks that we have at this point, or this is something that I would have to talk to like a big military guy about, is like, do these things actually serve as an important deterrent? I don't know if they do or don't. Right? Like, if we were to get rid of our entire ground armor division right now, is Russia going to start rolling tanks through more than just Georgia or more than Crimea? Like, I don't know if that's true or not,
Well, you have to also think it's not like we're deploying our entire tank division right now to that area anyways. It's probably a very small subset of that.
Sure, it's possible. I wish I just don't know the answers. I don't know why the U.S. has funding as much shit as it is for our military. I don't know.
What is even the cost for one carrier group?
Like our super carriers?
Yeah, like, and then the associated ships that go with it, because it's not just one, it's like the whole fleet that goes, and I think we have like, what, 6 or 7 of those?
Cost to operate super carrier. The newest carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, what?
Conversation. I sat down, and when I left, we were talking about tax memes, now we're on super carriers. Just, all right, let's go.
Well, he's asking me what I would cut for taxes.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So the Gerald R. Ford supercarrier cost $13 billion to make. The bill for operating a carrier group is $2.5 million per day. I'm kind of curious. Total number of what's the biggest one? Is it Pell Grants? What's the spending on the U.S.? What's the big
Oh fuck! I forgot. I know what you're talking about.
Largest federal grants, education. Is it Pell Grants? Does anybody know?
I have no idea.
It's not. Are you talking about the stuff that happens under like FAFSA?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know the name of that.
So Pell Grants cost taxpayers $31.4 billion in a fiscal year in 2015. So let's see, if we take 2.5 million and we times that by 375.
65.
Oh, sorry. How many days in a year? 2.5 million times 365. So to operate one carrier group, we spend about $1 billion a year, and then we spend about $31.4 billion on Pell Grants. We spend a lot of money on education. Holy shit.
We could sell off our old carrier groups, get some shekels there as well.
Yeah, but the United States has such a global presence that I don't know if we would want to do that. It's
Isn't it
really
the whole
complicated.
Republican shit to not be Team America World Police anymore?
No,
At least the
Republicans
modern one.
love being Team America World Police. It's usually, I think, Democrats that are more against that. Republicans are big on, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Democrats are usually fairly hawkish as far as war shit goes. But Republicans love being global police because America's the good guys to them, and we should always be global policing everybody.
So of our military budget, where's the most of that going then to? Is that going to? It can't be enlisted salaries, can it?
No.
I'm
Enlisted
sure that
officer?
A
retirement
lot of
and
it's
shit
going to
too, no?
R&D.
Well, no, veterans benefits, that's separated from the normal military budget. That's a different slice of the mandatory spending.
Of the $496 billion base budget, the vast majority of funding goes towards the cost of operating and maintaining the military and the cost of paying and caring for military personnel. So maybe all the bases that we have around the world.
That's possible.
Oh, the vast majority of the $600 billion base, the vast majority of the $600 billion budget will be funneled towards the military's base budget, which includes funding for the procurement of military equipment and the daily operating costs of U.S. bases. We've got bases all over the world. Yeah.
So you don't think we could cut down on any of that easily?
I just don't know the ramifications of doing so is the scary thing. Because the
Why-
thing... What's that good?
Why cut out down on the military? We can just tax rich people.
Listen,
Because we
moved
spend a
past
lot
that.
of money on the military is what Dan is getting at. And there might be
Got
savings
it.
to be found there, yeah. The problem is that like everything in international politics is a give and take, which a lot of people don't realize. So anytime we walk away from something, we're inviting another power to step in and exert influence over there.
But still, our military spending, even if we were to cut it in half, would still be, I want to say, at least double China's, who's the next biggest, correct?
Probably. Isn't it like we spend more than like the next like 10 nations combined or some shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we'd spend a lot. But I mean, we also have more military bases around the world than fucking any other country.
Someone's got to protect Scandinavia.
What's your view on the disposition of a lot of America's assets and either leasing or selling off a lot of that stuff that we have?
Like military stuff?
Not just military stuff, land, valuable assets that the government holds that does nothing and doesn't encourage economic growth. So a shitty example of that would be, what was that, in Montana, where they were selling off a bunch of the land or something along those lines? Or leasing it? Was that Montana? Fuck, where was that? That, like, Big Bear and people were all up in arms that people were selling off part of a national park?
I have no idea. I would have to know more about like the individual things and what purpose they have, so I'm not sure.
Well, I
Do
mean,
you
I think
even
there's a
think it's
tremendous
possible
amount of
to
assets
slash the
we can both
military
agree that
budget
the
with a
government
nationalist
probably
rhetoric?
owns that.
That is
Some
so
guys.
prevalent in the U.S.? So many mindless, proud to be an American retards who are so blindly patriotic there would be public outrage at any cut, I'd think.
Okay, I'm sorry. What did you say?
I was just saying, I think it's common sense that the United States federally owns a lot of land and assets that are not being used, which are wasted, which could generate significant.
Yeah, I
revenue
just don't know
both
why
on
they're
the-
owned. I'm not sure. There might be
Why
good
they're owned?
Like, yeah, I don't. There might be good, valid like reasons why the federal government owns so much property. I don't know the answer to that.
How important do you think, like, having these huge swaths of land for like national parks and shit? Obviously, I'm not talking about like Grand Canyon, but you know, stuff you never heard of.
I don't know.
That's a good question behind a lot of this shit here.
Yeah.
So, how are we going to pay for would you really raise taxes? So tomorrow, getting back to this, free healthcare for everyone, free college for everyone. How many shekels does it cost to pay for that, and where is that going to come from?
I don't know. I would have to look at the fucking budget of everything. Fuck.
Oh, fuck, son. I'm giving you now to change tax plan for tomorrow. You have to be more prepared.
You have to. You're assuming that all of that money is going to be efficiently spent, right? Like that's my whole problem with it. Is like if you increase taxes, you're not necessarily guaranteeing that money gets to the right place.
We're talking a perfect world, hopefully, but yeah, I believe me.
Why are we
I agree
talking
with
a
that.
perfect world when that's not the world we live in?
Well, just for sake of argument, he's just curious where the money would
Well,
come
then, for
from.
sake of argument, we absolutely should raise taxes if we were able to allocate that to better education and other stuff. Why wouldn't we?
Okay, so who gets the taxes raised and to what much?
You personally
Me
bankrolled the United
personally?
States education
Listen, we're not
system.
going to have a lot of free college. I can send like Mr. Mooten and like maybe 4 or 5 other people, and then we're done. So
It's a start.
All right.
But no, seriously though, what percent of what percent is doing it? Like, is it the top 1%? So like doctors would be feeling this, or are you going for the top 10% of the top 1%?
Doctors
so we're
can
gonna
probably
find the
be
top
taxed on it. If you're
1%
like
in America.
the average
That's-
income of a surgeon is like $400,000. Like you can
Yeah,
probably.
but fucking surgeon, that's like the creme de la creme. I'm talking about your.
Let's be super
GP.
clear. Okay, the top 1% of America, when we refer to that, is anyone that makes over $430,000 a year.
Is it
right?
that high now?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Hang on. Top 1%. 400. I was wrong. It's higher. It's $465,626.
Okay, so $500,000. Is that married or single?
Damn, he's getting you with the hard questions.
Yeah, man. Hold up. Median household income. So
Household.
both.
So I would include
Yeah.
mine,
Household. Yeah.
All right, so we're talking two
Top
doctors.
5% is 214,000, and the top 1% is 462,000.
All right. So how much are we gonna fuck these rich globalist fucks? Tell me. What are we gonna do?
Maybe we just need to tax the 0.001%. Like, I don't know. These are such big questions. Like, I don't know the answer to this stuff.
If you want this to all get even more complicated, right? Here's another big problem you've got is that any tax plan you work out, you also have to forge international agreements to make sure that other people are similar. Because if you don't, then what happens is you get people will leave your country and just go on to operate under other countries with more preferential tax treatment. This is a big meme in like Northern Ireland.
Isn't it the case? Sorry, go ahead.
There's a big meme in like Northern Ireland where countries will actually build their tax code around companies setting up there for preferential tax treatment to escape U.S. taxation.
Yep. I made this argument today. It's like there's no really easy way around it.
Yeah,
basically.
you'd have to get like a world tax plan, literally, as cookie as that sounds, to make sure that other countries aren't setting up in ways to...
Wait. So there's like several reasons why I'm not sure that would work. Like the first one being that isn't there already a lot of countries that are first world countries that have a higher tax rate than America in a lot of areas, like for personal income, like Germany, for example. And then the second...
No, you know this isn't true, actually, because you can think of personal examples in the United States, right? There are states that you would go to create a business, right?
Yeah, okay, and that was my
non-passive
second
entities?
meme, was that the implications of like leaving it. So let's say that you have a business in Silicon Valley and you're generating like a knowledge capital out of there by like really high level engineers that you've hired out of San Francisco, okay? The implications of moving to Omaha, Nebraska to be able to run that business are enormous, right? You'd either have to move your workforce, you'd have to find knowledge capital in Omaha, which is unlikely.
No, you don't.
Compared to Silicon Valley, right? So like I don't think it's just as easy as just go operate. If you're gonna go to a place with lower taxes, that also implicates that you have to operate your entire business out of that place. So sure,
Not
I might be able to
necessarily.
pay
No,
less
it
to the government in
100%
Zimbabwe,
doesn't,
but
Devin.
I'm almost
it's about
positive
where
that's
you
not necessarily
hold.
true.
It's about where you hold the assets, right? So where do you hold your source code? Where do you hold your copyrights, your trademarks? That's about where it is, and also where the company is that does the receiving of capital. It doesn't matter where the employees are. It's about where you establish your base.
yeah, but don't.
You base out of tax. Someone in chat said you base out of tax havens and then you open branches. It's stuff like that. There's like
That
really
doesn't make
weird...
sense because the income you earn has to be taxed in the place you earn it. So, like for example, why would if
That's
what
not necessarily true.
if what you were saying was true, why wouldn't every country in Silicon Valley, every company, why wouldn't Facebook just have their registered business in Nevada or Delaware and then not pay any California taxes? But that's not what happens. They pay California taxes.
Isn't Apple a big company that does this? It uses...
Yeah, they use the double Dutch.
Oh, my mic's loud. Okay, sorry. I talk right into it. Okay.
I'm pretty sure a lot of these companies do this. Like, exactly.
Yeah, they have a financial responsibility to their shareholders to do exactly
yeah,
this.
and
Positive this is not how it works.
real quick, Devin, you know that this isn't true. The idea that you have to pay taxes from where you operate. For things in the United States, we've got tax treatments for things like pass-through tax entities, right? An S-Corp or an LLC is generally a pass-through tax entity. If I form an S-Corp in Delaware and it exists in Delaware and I make money from that entity, that pass-through income is treated as personal income for me. So even though my business is making income over there, I'm paying personal taxes on it where I live, not in Delaware, right?
No, because so that in the same way, if we ran CLG in California, the work is done in California,
Yeah.
and the income is made in California, we have to pay California taxes. We can't just go to Nevada and operate and say if we're not really operating there. And then
you can.
No, you can't.
No.
Facebook,
That's true to some extent. It just depends on how you're set up as a tax entity. You could make a business that is established in another state that doesn't pay income tax, that isn't a pass-through tax entity, that can make income. Like, there are literally places in Nevada that have like office buildings full of offices that you can just like rent because you only need like one little thing in order to establish a business. Why would those exist if people weren't using them for preferential tax treatment?
Because we're talking about two different types of taxes, but the income that you make in the state that you make it is taxed in that state. But if you want to do something like but for actual corporate taxes, you can, those are actually reduced at the level you're talking about. So if you go to Nevada and like Facebook, I'm sure is like a corporation in Nevada or Delaware. All these corporations are actually probably incorporated in these places. And that has a tax advantage on a corporate level. But as soon as you do pass through the personal income, where you earn that income is where you pay taxes, period. You can't use
on pass-through. That is correct. That is correct, right? But if you can save money on where the corporation is based, that's real. That represents a real savings, right?
Yeah, sure, and everybody does that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there are ways to get rid of like 100% of your taxes, but to avoid a lot of them. But I'm pretty sure I would have to read more about it. I know that Trump has brought up like corporate inversions and shit. There are countries, and I think Northern Ireland is the big country to do this, where people set up businesses solely because of the extremely preferential tax treatment they get in these places, and it ends up losing a lot of money out of countries that don't have these corporations and them paying taxes. I should just stop saying this and look it up. Northern Ireland tax evasion? I don't know. What is it?
Tax advantage companies, maybe? Or tax advantage, something like that.
It's Ireland, not Northern Ireland? Is it just Ireland? I'm almost positive it's Northern Ireland. I could be wrong, though. The double Irish with a Dutch sandwich. Northern Ireland pays 2 UK taxes. Maybe it's just Ireland then? Maybe it is just Ireland. It's not Northern Ireland. Read this. It explains the legal means behind it. And this is just Delaware. You're not liking me. Oh, double Irish arrangement. The double Irish arrangement is a tax scheme used by some U.S. corporations in Ireland. Apple, Google, and Facebook use this to shield non-U.S. income from the Pre-Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, U.S. worldwide 35% tax system and almost all Irish taxes. As the conduit by which U.S. corporations built up offshore reserves of approximately $1 trillion, the double Irish is the largest corporate tax avoidance structure in modern history. And the double Irish, one Irish subsidiary sells intellectual property-based products globally via royalty schemes, and the other Irish subsidiary is also incorporated in Ireland, but managed from a tax haven like Bermuda. The Irish tax codes considers IRL2, the second company, a Bermuda company, but the U.S. tax code considers IRL2 an Irish company. Oh, interesting. Neither taxes it. A further Dutch sandwich avoids Irish withholding tax on moving money from IRL1 to IRL2. A Bermuda company or Bermuda black hole will often own IRL2. Using the double Irish requires intellectual property. This limits use to technology, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and industrials with patents. In addition, non-U.S. firms tend to have territorial tax systems in their home country and do not need Irish tax structuring. This is why 14 of Ireland's top 20 firms are U.S. IP-heavy multinationals, and why there are no non-U.S., non-UK foreign multinationals in Ireland's top 50. So in Ireland's top 50 firms, every single one is a U.S. or UK foreign multinational entity. U.S. IP-heavy multinationals now employ a quarter of Ireland's private sector workforce, pay 80% of Irish business tax, and pay 50% of Irish sales tax or salary tax and VAT, and create 57% of economic value. Damn.
So what conclusion are we reaching from this?
That basically there's a tax scheme where you can create a company in Ireland and then you create another company in Bermuda, and the company in Ireland license its intellectual property to a company in Bermuda, and because of how the U.S. tax scheme and the Irish tax scheme is set up, none of these companies end up getting taxed because of how they're treated.
Holy shit.
There are
And
also other things like this
Facebook,
as well.
apparently Apple, Google, and Facebook all utilize this tax avoidance strategy.
So these companies do not need to pay any taxes in the United States?
On these IP related things, I believe. Wasn't this like a big meme article that got posted last year where Apple paid like nothing in taxes on like $800 fucking million of revenue or some shit, or maybe more than that, or
Yeah, they paid like 1% for EU stuff. But one thing to stress here is
how
this isn't
Apple.
just like
Oh, so this is a Fortune article that's just the name of the article is commentary. How Apple avoided paying $40 billion in taxes.
yeah, that's a really good
God.
article actually. I've read that. You
Okay.
should go through that because I think it explains the source code and the other stuff and how even if Ireland fixes this, there's other countries you can do the same thing. There's a limitless amount, basically. It's just, you know, this one happens to be the 0% tax. But if U.S. gets frisky, you go someplace, okay, we'll go someplace where it's 1 or 5% tax or 10%.
And reading this, I'm just reading one of these Forbes articles. Apple set up some Irish subsidiaries a mere 4 years after it was founded. Foreign sales, which account for 60% of Apple's profits, are routed through these Irish subsidiaries and taxed nowhere.
Whoa, that's unreal.
Yeah, how is this possible when the intellectual property that supports the value of Apple's products is in the U.S.? Apple has an Irish holding company with no operations or employees at the top of its foreign operations. This company also serves as a group finance company. Apple Incorporated, the U.S. patent parent of the whole company, pays U.S. tax on the investment earnings of this company. Otherwise, the holding company pays no tax to any government and has not paid tax for 5 years. It claims tax residence nowhere. Yeah, so these are like big Irish. There's a couple of these like weird multinational like tax avoidance things, but I think that Ireland is the big country where people go to do it at.
Yeah, and a lot of the Caribbean as well, though.
Sure. And then like for investment things, isn't it is it Switzerland where people will invest money because there's like very, very little accountability or reporting or anything there? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, but that's more like breaking the law type of stuff versus
Sure.
having lower taxes out there.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's like hardcore breaking the law. Like I don't think Switzerland, I don't think respects like warrants or subpoenas from like any other country, right? Like if you suspect somebody of a financial crime and you go to Switzerland with like a warrant, they're like, fuck you, we don't give a fuck, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that that's a big meme, but as far as like legally doing it, like I don't think there's any reason whatsoever for Apple
To go there
do
if you're not
anything in
doing some shady
Switzerland.
shit, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot less true than it used to be. Oh, so maybe they changed that?
Anyways, the whole point of this is that any tax code change you make right now, you have to understand that the rest of the world's not going to change with you, and you basically need to have some sort of incentive or at least palatable mechanism so that companies like Apple be like, you know what, fuck it. We're only paying X% on our shit here. It's not worth going through all these fucking shenanigans just to make an extra 5% and having to deal with all that overhead and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
you know, something like that.
Hey, it's almost like some sort of union to bring countries together to do regulation consistently through multiple countries might be beneficial to making things that function well.
Yeah, the global union. I like it. Let's do it. World government. One tax plan. Fairly distributed. Oh, that's an interesting thing. Do you ever think there'll be a world tax? You think we can get to that type of point?
We would need a world government first.
Yeah, it's happening. The globalists are getting their way.
The
All right, I'm
Federation?
rolling out. You guys can keep on going. Time
Can
for
we
dinner.
start building starships then?
Rip. We need to find
Damn,
shit in space
dude.
that's profitable, and then we'll be able to.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I'm gonna take a shower and then I'm gonna go stream and stuff and
Alright,
eat all that.
Good luck, buddy. I'd host
Thanks,
you, but
dude. Oh well, I know I miss you, dude. That's why I'd rather be over here. I'll come by whenever you want, man. I would prefer talking to you. I just wish that collab stuff, man, is so brutal on the Twitch
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. All right, well, hey, have fun. Be
Sweet.
careful, buddy.
Yeah, it was good talking to you, man. Thanks for having me around.
Yep.